asked to do a podcast yesterday evening. Sat down with a couple of fellas who do the College Jam podcast, a couple of boys from out in the Midwest. They are actually, hilariously, an Iowa fan, an Iowa State fan, and a Kansas State fan.
Can't get much more Midwest than that.
Yeah, couple of corn-fed boys. One of the fellas was this ex-military dude, and he came on. This dude's like, he's that guy that's so damn jacked that he can't sit back properly. You know what I mean? Like that style muscle where he can't sit back because the shoulders are too big. He's kind of like reclines against his shoulder muscles. This dude intimidated me from 850 miles away through a computer screen. I was like, damn, dude. Like, I think you can skip a gym day, buddy. I think you'll be okay. So anyway, we were talking a little college football. They asked me on to do a South Carolina Gamecock preview. They asked me on to basically just run over. What's the offense? What's the defense? What's the special teams? And while obviously we've done the deep dive plenty of times on what this offense is going to do, what they can be, et cetera, et cetera. Let me give you my main takeaway and then hear what you South Carolina fans have to say about it. Here's what I told them. The least surprising aspect of this, I think, is going to be that my primary take was, and I don't mean to be shocking, I don't mean for this to be too hot takey, but the main takeaway I had was this team's going to be as good as Lenore Sellers allows them to be. I don't think that's too hot takey. I think this team is going to be as good as, this team is going to go as far as Lenore's takes them. That's not what the issue is. Obviously, the issue is how good are the guys around Lenore's and how much are they going to give to him? And the big takeaway was obviously that this team is going to have to rebuild the entire interior of their offensive line. Now, the intent of this show today is not to be negative. I don't want to be negative. We are less than 3.5 weeks away from the start of the college football season. I would rather be super duper happy, fun, optimist, silver lining, yada, yada, yada. But I also am a realist. And I do think it is important to talk about if you don't get where you want to be, what is going to be the reasoning behind that? What's going to be the cause of that? The good news is for South Carolina, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday very briefly, Rasul Faison got his waiver. Now, hilariously, you had to wait like 9 damn weeks to get that done. But hey, I'll take it done late over not done at all. You get your running back. This is something that Shane Beamer has been on for weeks now. And why wouldn't he? Are you going to let my dude play or are you not? He gets the waiver for the 7th year of eligibility to move over and be the guy that carries the rock for South Carolina this year. Man is coming off of a year where he rushed for 1,845 yards and 13 touchdowns at Utah State. But I told these fellas last night, as they asked me to tell them the silver lining result and the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for me was this. And if South Carolina does not finish where they start, 13th or higher in the poll, you are, as it stands, obviously with a 12-team playoff, one spot out of that mix. If you are not in that mix at the end of the year, I think it comes down to one thing and one thing alone. I've heard people say, well, it's about the wide receivers. Did Nick Harbor figure it out? Is Mazeo Bennett Jr. going to be that guy that with only 30 catches last year gets a little more XP during the offseason and becomes the underneath possession receiver that he was when he played his high school ball here in the area, et cetera, et cetera. All fair questions. But to me, that's not what is going to keep South Carolina hovering around or jumping above that 13th spot that the coaches selected them in yesterday. It's very simply the ability to run the football between the tackles. Faison had a good year last year for Utah State. But, and this is one of those spots where in years gone by, this would have been a take that would have aggravated, agitated, bothered a young Rob Brown. But a 2025 evaluation of college football makes me say a sentence that used to make me sick and say it with sincerity. The ability to do that at Utah State in no way, shape, or form guarantees the ability to put up same numbers when the heart of the defense you are going to be running into is dominated by Southeastern Conference caliber interior defensive linemen. We have looked around the D-lines of Georgia, of Alabama, of Texas. They are big, fast, mean, strong. And with all due respect to the Utes and everybody else, they just are not putting up defensive lines out in the Pacific Coast. They are just not putting up defensive lines.
You're an SEC hack. Next thing you're going to say is it just means more.
No, I'm not.
I am appalled. I cannot believe that you're saying that football is better in the SEC than it is in Utah.
Yeah, I know. It's a real hot take. It's a real hot take that there's a little bit more across the D-line in the Southeastern Conference than there is in the Big 12.
Here's what I hope. I hope he proves you wrong.
I'm not. First off, I haven't said he can't.
Okay,
Let's be real clear.
All right, you were leading that way, it would seem.
No, I have not said he can't. I have not said that he won't. Let's keep it a buck. The kid just got his waiver. I don't think we've really seen enough out of him, even in spring and all that. I don't think we've seen enough out of the kid to make a projection or a prognostication about what he is or is not capable of doing in the Southeastern Conference. What I'm saying is, when I look at teams that Utah has played did play last year, when he was putting up stacks, when he was putting up numbers, it's just that the talent level he is running against this year is going to be dramatically bigger, dramatically stronger, dramatically better than it was last year. So to ask for this kid to go out there and put up over 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns or whatever, that's a big ask. It's just a big ask. I'm looking at some of the D linemen on the teams he's played against. Just because I went straight to their roster first. Utah State's interior defensive lineman, 270, 275. South Carolina's 310, 315. Now, just because you weigh 30 extra pounds doesn't mean you're inherently a better tackler.
I know you're looking at that, but what was the size of the offensive line he was playing in front of then compared to the offensive line that he's playing now?
Well, let's go look at the roster.
Because that also would help him more, I would think.
The offensive line he ran behind, this year's offensive line at Utah State, 285, 305, 300, 335, 300. South Carolina's projected offensive line size is 300, 330, 325, 335, 310. Again, about 30 pounds on average worth of difference. Now, again, that does not mean that it's going to be less successful, more successful. It just means that there's more mass and more ass between him and open grass. I just came up with that on the fly. That's pretty good.
That sounds like something you heard from somewhere,
Nope.
But if not, way to go.
Made that up on the fly. More mass and more ass between you and open grass. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty proud of that one.
You are.
I'm pretty proud of that one. That one felt pretty good. That's it. That's the question mark. Because if a team feels like they are going to be able to eliminate the interior run just with a base, if I do not feel like your running back, and now we know it will be face on, if I do not feel like your running back is a true, genuine between the tackles threat, and I feel like I can eliminate it with two defensive tackles and a linebacker, two linebackers and a defensive tackle, depending on if I'm 3-4, 4-3, 3-3 with a star, whatever the case might be. If I feel like my base set can eliminate the interior run game, What does that allow me to do? I got one dude locked in on Lenore Sellers. I got two dudes setting the edge. You're not getting outside of the tackles, Lenore. Perhaps you'll have a little time in a clean pocket. But you're not getting to the outside. And granted, Lenore Sellers, Clemson fans know this as well as anybody. Lenore Sellers can run between the tackles like he's a running back. I think the fellas were a little shocked last night when I pointed out to him. This kid plays at 6'3", 240. That's the quarterback, man. Lenore's plays at 240. He can run between the tackles. But considering the name of the game for this team is they go as far as Lenore Sellers carries them literally, I don't want him running between the tackles unless it is just the only way out. Your run game's going to have to be good. That is problematic when you are rebuilding the entire interior of the line. That's your kryptonite. That's your take. You add in the fact that from your defensive front seven, you have one starter coming back. Out of those 7 guys, one starter coming back. That's a problem. So you're going to have to win shootouts, and you're going to have to win shootouts with a rebuilt interior offensive line, a running back whose success was found against dramatically smaller and slower defenses out west. Do you think they can finish higher or lower than 13th in the coaching poll? We'll talk about Clemson and where they started off in the preseason coaches poll coming up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I didn't yell anything. Oh, man. Allegorical ragtagba. I don't know what that means. Well, if anybody's watching, stay right there. We'll be right back.
weekend, Big Daddy. How you doing?
Real good, Corey LaJoy, friend of the show.
Yes.
1-0 early in the week. Got some ground to make up. We are looking at evaluating, breaking down, critiquing, and picking apart the 2025's preseason coaches poll. The college football season starts up in 3 weeks and 2 days, if you are counting down. All of us are, I assume. So we are talking about 21, 22, 23. Numbers are hard. 23 days until the college football season kicks off. It will be here before you know it. If that feels like forever for you, just keep in mind, it has been 23 days, actually 24 days, since we started SEC Media Days. Remember that? That was
No
more
way.
days.
No way. Are you sure you're counting that right?
No, but pretty. Not really, but pretty sure. It's been 3 weeks because we did SEC Media Days. Then we did ACC Media Days the next
And
week.
then there was a week
Then
in
they had a
between.
week, and
Yeah.
now here we are.
Okay. All right.
So it's been more days since the beginning of SEC Media Days than we have remaining until we kick the football off.
Wow.
I know. Time flies when you're getting old and living in existential crisis. So we are picking apart the preseason coaches top 25, which dropped yesterday. I've had questions about teams at the top. And again, the narrative for me in this 2025 football season is that there is an impressive number of quarterbacks that could be exceptional. We could have one of, and I say this with great sincerity, we could have one of the deepest, most talented groups of college football quarterbacks across the country that we've ever had before. This could be one of the deepest crops of quarterbacks who are genuinely good that we have seen in college football. It is one of the reasons that I have spent the last few weeks of the college football offseason saying, I think college football parity is as good as it has been maybe in my lifetime. Now, I've had I don't want to say a very long lifetime, but I've been watching college football a very long time. Watched it with the old man growing up. Watched it as an adult. Never stopped. I cannot, off the top of my head, and some of you may want to take me back to the 1980s, 1990s, maybe early 2000s, whatever, and say, well, actually, Rob, this year we had the whatever. I feel like college football is as parity-filled and as deep, genuinely, as it has ever been. I can go down to number 17, Florida. DJ Lagway might be a dude. Number 19, Indiana. Ryan Horvath the other day had me rolling laughing because we had Adam Rittenberg, college football ace, on the show. And Ryan Horvath asked Adam Rittenberg, who is this year's Indiana? Rittenberg turned it around and said, before I answer, Ryan Horvath, who do you think is this year's Indiana? And Horvath's answer was Indiana. And I don't think he's wrong. There's a very good chance Kurt Cignetti and the boys are back. This is as deep. Kansas State at number 20. I think Kansas State can win the Big 12. And Avery Johnson, their quarterback, could be as good as DJ Lagway and Lenora Sellers. Might be a total question mark. Lonzo's going to love him because he does, without question, have the best head of hair of any quarterback in college football this year. This might be the deepest group of quarterbacks that college football has ever had, at least in my lifetime. Obviously, not all of them are going to be as good as their coaches have spent the last 3 weeks telling us that they are. Obviously, some of them will. I honestly hope that more are than are not, because that's going to just make college football more fun for us as we get closer to the end of the season. But what I will say is this. To me, that makes having an experienced quarterback who is and this is a phrase I've said many, many times on this show over the past few weeks, The phrase proven commodity. This is the spot where I feel like having a quarterback who is a proven commodity is a benefit to a team. You don't have to spend as much time getting them ready, getting them up to speed. You feel like you can just turn them loose, work on the guys around them, and put the emphasis on picking up your run game, picking up your pass pro, picking up your wide receivers, whatever the case might be. One of the reasons that I have not pushed back on the large number of people that, whether it is because I have talked them into it or because they've talked themselves into it, one of the reasons that I'm not pushing back on people who are taking a little scratch in South Carolina to win the SEC. Yeah, questions about the run game. Yes, questions about the interior offensive line. Absolutely questions about the defense. How many of the 6 out of 7 that are newbies as starters across the front 7 are going to turn into dogs for the Gamecocks? We can only wait to find out what Clayton White does with them. But they have a proven commodity in quarterback in Lenora Sellers. Here's the thing. I have said that I am pushing pause. Not stop, not eject, not abort. But I'm pushing pause on what has been the primary argument that a lot of folks have made about Clemson. This is not, you know what, I guess to some degree it is. Because when you look around the college football talkosphere of the blathering idiots like me who are making our preseason predictions, projections, and prognostications, there are a lot of people who are picking Clemson. Again, 2 first-place votes in the coaches poll. There are, in total, 5 teams who received a first-place vote. Texas got 28 of them in first place. Ohio State, second place, got 20. Penn State, third, got 14. Georgia got 3 and is in fourth. Notre Dame got none, but got enough second and third place votes to jump over Clemson to the 5 spot. Clemson is number 6, but Clemson got a pair of first-place votes from the coaches. Most of the college football experts that I have spoken to have given me the reason for having Clemson where they have them as a playoff team. It's one of 2. Number 1, the ACC is not that good, and I've heard this expression a few times. There is no excuse for Clemson not to win that conference. Now, I push back on that a little bit. I do not trust Mario Cristobal in big games, as he has not once, or like Steve Sarkisian has had a couple of spots where maybe he didn't run an offense the way I wanted him to in a big game. But he's got one, in my opinion, egregious sin, which is that Ohio State game last year. Not saying they would have won, but you've got a goal-to-go scenario with the game on the line. Your team has power run their way to this spot, and now all of a sudden, with Arch Manning, who's supposed to be the guy over on the bench, a guy that you have called in for this exact situation throughout the course of the year, you decide to end around run against a very fast Buckeye defense known for their defensive backs and their ability to move laterally. That's a blown call. That pales in comparison to a game that you have heard me bring up a gazillion times this offseason. It is the one reason that I absolutely cannot. In fact, when I filled out my ACC projected order of finish, I put Miami 4th on that list. I think they have, at the very worst, the second most talented roster in the ACC. At the very worst. There's a lot of folks arguing their talent on paper is better than Clemson. I don't agree with it, but I'm just letting you know what the mindset is. I don't trust Mario Cristobal. So, a lot of folks are saying it is inexcusable for the Clemson Tigers to lose the ACC, and that's why they have them where they have them. And the proven commodity argument about Cade Klubnik is there as well. I am, as I have said a couple of times, pushing pause. Not saying he's not going to be that guy. Not saying he's not going to get that done. What I am saying is he certainly, this has been the other big narrative, has a wide receiver core this year that looks better than it has the last couple of years. Antonio Williams, we had him on the show at ACC Media Days. High expectations. TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco Jr., John Blau has been repeating their names all the way through the offseason when we have talked about this football team getting ready. The wide receiver core is as good as it has been. But I also think it is fair to ask the question that is very similar to the question that we have asked about South Carolina. What is the run game? We asked John Blau about that on Monday. I said, look, man, Dabo's high on Cade Klubnik. Over the last 2 years, when we have spoken with Dabo, the war cry about Cade Klubnik has been, I got to get him to see the field and know when it's time to run the football. He's got wheels. I need him to do it. This year, we didn't hear that. And I don't know if that's because Dabo feels comfortable that Cade has figured it out, put 2 and 2 together, is going to be the running threat that Dabo Swinney's wanted him to be for a couple of years now. I don't know if that is because they feel like that's going to be less obligatory. We got more wide receivers doing more things down the field. He should have not fewer opportunities, but fewer spots where the opportunity becomes the best option to run the football this year. But the question mark is, what about just being able to run the football? What about the run game? We asked John Blau about Adam Randall on Monday, a converted wide receiver moving into the backfield. We asked him if that's going to be enough, if Gideon Davidson is going to break out this year. And John Blau, who I mean it when I say, we've had John on the show every Monday for, over a year at this point, dating back to mid-football season last year when he started making his appearances. John Blau knows as much about this football team as anybody that I have had the pleasure of speaking with. He is as knowledgeable about the roster, about the game plans, about the decisions. He is as knowledgeable about this football team as anybody I've spoken to. And when I've asked him about the run game, John Blau's response has primarily been, we'll see. We'll see. He said Randall's been taking the first team snaps. And I don't know if that is because nobody else has really broken out to take the job from a converted wide receiver, or if he has done such a good job of converting from wide receiver that he's just clearly the best there, or some combination of the two. And I think that is fair. The good news for Clemson is, even if you are talking about the teams that may prove to be their biggest challenges in the ACC, Miami, Louisville, SMU, if you look at the rosters of those squads, they are all going to largely be okay across the defensive line. I'm looking at Miami's right now. 270, 280, 300, 260. Like, that's not best of the best. And oh, by the way, one retarding starter across the front line. And not a dude who has a lot in the way of NFL draft prospect. So the good news for Clemson is that whereas South Carolina, when they get down the stretch, and as we've talked about a number of times, the back half of the schedule for the Gamecocks is, to me, the most difficult final 7-week stretch of anybody in college football. I firmly believe. LSU on the road, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss on the road, at the compound to take on the Colt, Texas A&M, back home for Coastal, wrapping it up at the crib with Clemson. LSU is a playoff threat. Oklahoma, I don't think they are, but a lot of folks at SEC Media Day selected Oklahoma as a playoff threat. Alabama, playoff threat. Ole Miss, outside playoff threat, but a lot of people believe in Lane Kiffin. Texas A&M, absolute playoff threat. Coastal Carolina, Clemson, national championship threat. And I could make the argument that so is LSU, so is Alabama, outside so is Texas A&M. You were talking about in your final 7 games, you were talking about 6 of them being against playoff teams, playoff caliber teams. So the question is for South Carolina, how do you get through that stretch, especially if the run game isn't going well? Clemson obviously doesn't have that ahead of them. The run down the line for Clemson is nowhere near as difficult, and that's great news for them. But if they can't run the ball, could it be a spot where they end up one and done? SMU, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, and South Carolina with Furman wedged in the middle. It's not an easy run down the stretch. That's why I've said I think the floor for this team could be genuinely 9-3. I think 10-2 is a reasonable, realistic outcome. But if the run game doesn't get going, if Randall ain't the guy, if Gideon doesn't step up, this team, to me, of the teams inside the top 10, is one of the teams that I think is in danger of falling out late. If you're going to fall out early, fight your way back. They are in the danger of falling out late, in my opinion. We're going to talk a lot more college football as the show rolls on. Texture says the only commodity the University of South Carolina has is a terrible offensive line, the way the quarterback was running around all season long. We'll talk about that. And a lot more college football after Lonzo, who, if they gave out Heismans for sports flashes, would have all of them.
All that. Lenore Sellers was still able to beat Clemson.
Woof.
There's that. Atlanta Braves dropped a 3-1 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers last night. Eric Fadigue took the 12th loss of the year, going 5.1 innings and surrendering 3 hits and 3 runs without recording a strikeout. The Braves won 330 from the plate and had only 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Atlanta is now a full 20 games below 500. Top 25 coaches poll in college football is out, and for the first time in the history of the poll, the Texas Longhorns will start at number 1, just a few points ahead of number 2 Ohio State. Penn State checks in at 3. Georgia and Notre Dame stack up at 4 and 5, ahead of number 6 Clemson. Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami round out the top 10, while South Carolina checked in at 13. Vikings second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy will get the start against the Texans in Saturday's preseason game. McCarthy missed last year with a right knee injury, becoming the first quarterback selected in the first round to miss an entire rookie season.
The shell looks like it's out of a fantasy game. It looks like loot you would pick up off the ground.
Okay.
But you cut it open and you eat the inside out of it. It was delightful. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Group Alonzo, and you. If you would like to be a part of the radio broadcast, well, we would like you to be a part of the radio broadcast. How do I pull that off, Rob? Worry not, dear friends. That's what I'm here to tell you. Here's the phone number you need to know. Memorize it. Better yet, grab that cell phone that you carry around every day with you and pop this number in. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. And I want you to pop that number into your phone because it can accomplish not one, but two different methods of communication between you and us. The first one is the Hub City Spartanburger text line. Pop that number into your phone, push the button that says send a text, and do that. It's for free. And we will read them on the radio show. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You shoot a text to the Hub City Spartanburger text line by using that number, and I will read it on the air. You can also call that number, 844-326-3663. And when you do, not only do you get to make small talk, and by golly gee willikers, there's nothing more Lonzo loves than a little bit of good small talk. You get to make small talk with the greatest radio personality in the history of great radio personalities, the great one Lonzo. That's why I call him that. And then Lonzo's going to push a little button over on that side of the board that's going to put you live on the airwaves across not just the beautiful upstate of South Carolina, not just the GVL, not just Spartanburg, you beautiful burgers, you. I'll actually be over in your neck of the woods here in a couple of days. On top of all of that, you're going to go live across the world because thefanupstate.com streams the show live to you anywhere that you are with any sort of data connection and a working speaker. We got you covered. 844-326-3663. If you're more of a social media guy or gal, we got you covered there too. You can go to The Fan Upstate on Facebook. You can go to The Fan Upstate on YouTube. You can go to The Fan Upstate on Twitter. And if you search and subscribe to The Fan Upstate, we stream the show live. You can watch it, go behind the scenes, interact with the great one, with myself, with everyone in the Armada. You can do the same for The Rob Brown Show. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Search, subscribe, hang out with us. If you're in the office and you're one of those fancy schmancy exec types and you got a TV, especially one of them, they're smart TVs, they got the internet on them and stuff, search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on Facebook. Pop it up on the TV. We will entertain you for your entire morning because we're just here to make your lives better. And you're welcome. You're very welcome. The internet technology. Thank you, Al Gore. Thank you for helping us help the people. Search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show. Check them out. Check them out. Check them out.
Yo, check them out.
Check us out every morning as we stream the show live. And, of course, if you are, again, social media inclined, at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever you want to find me, at The Rob Brown Show, posting videos every day, clips from the show, brief asides, and more. Make sure you hit us up on the social media at The Rob Brown Show. Now, with all that being said, with all that being talked about, with all that being discussed, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning. You have just a wee bit over 55 minutes until you've got to get up, dressed, showered, do them the other way around. Then get in the car, drive to work, sit in the office, respond to those emails that you don't want to respond to. And once that's out of the way, after let's say like 7-8 minutes of actual work, just enough so that the boss looks and goes, oh, he emailed me already. Hard at work. Fake it until you make it to your first break. When you walk down the hallway, head to that break room, stand up against the water cooler and wait for whichever one of the coworkers that you like to show up and to talk some sports. And hey, if you're going to talk sports, you got to know what's going on, don't you? Of course you do. And if you got to know what's going on, worry not, because every morning at this time, we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"Oh no, don't start."
Where they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Tis indeed the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with the coworkers that you actually enjoy spending your time with. Is there anything worse than having a coworker you're forced to be around that you don't like? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's the worst.
Yeah, someone comes to mind. I don't know. Why?
Just question off the top of the noggin.
Thank goodness that trades happen.
Item number 1. We have talked about it at length. We continue to do so now. The coaches poll for the preseason top 25 has been released. Dropped yesterday afternoon, and atop the coaches poll entering the season, it is the first time in the history of the college coaches poll that the Texas Longhorns sit at number 1. 28 first place votes from the coaches coming off of a 13-3 season. The Longhorns behind Arch Manning at QB1, Steve Sarkisian at HC are the number 1 team in America for now. We're 23 days away. A lot of time between here and the national championship game for Texas to blow it. Will they this year? Will they get it done? We'll find out. But they start from the poll with 28 first-place votes. 20 first-place votes went to the number 2 team. Just about 40 points out are the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Ryan Day finally breaks the narrative. Ryan Day gets the old Buckeye off his back by winning last year's national championship game. They will start from the inside lane at number 2, 21st place votes to the Buckeyes. 3 teams atop the poll. 2 of them belong to the Big Ten, as checking in third with 14 first place votes out of the Big Ten are the Penn State Nittany Lions. James Franklin's turn to try to end the narrative comes this year. I've already said a couple of times. There's a different conversation happening around the Nittany Lions this AM. There's a different conversation. The conversation is not about big game James this year. And I think that is less because anybody genuinely and truly feels like James Franklin has figured it out, like James Franklin has changed the narrative. I think it is, and I don't know that anybody has benefited from a 12-team playoff quite as much as James Franklin. Because I think we treat getting into the 12-team playoff with the same reverence that we treated getting into the 4-team playoff in the few years that we had that format. Big Game James got in last year. Big Game James not just got in last year, but got in and won a game last year. And I think that kind of pushed back the narrative about James Franklin maybe being on the hot seat to some degree. Well, hey, yeah. We finished second in the Big Ten. We lost in the Big Ten championship game, but it was against the consensus number 1 team, the Oregon Ducks. And then we went into the college football playoffs and we were competitive. We got a win in the college football playoffs. But I do think that narrative is still back in the old medulla oblongata for a lot of college football fans. However, because they got in, and because the belief is, as we have spoken about, a lot of question marks at QB around college football, Drew Aller is expected to be one of the few proven commodities at the position. I have already mentioned he played like crap in a couple of Penn State losses last year. So the question mark is, did he learn from those? Did he get the XP to level up during the offseason and be trustworthy in those big games this year? We shall find out. But the conversation about the Nittany Lions is different this year, in my opinion, over the past couple of weeks of covering media days and whatnot. The conversation is different this year. And I think that's to some degree palpable. Is it enough to ease the pressure, to take the tension off of big game James, to allow the Nittany Lions to get it done? IDK. We'll find out. Georgia got 3 first-place votes. They check in at number 4, 1 spot ahead of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Get no first-place votes. However, they do leapfrog team number 6, the Clemson Tigers. They got a pair of first-place votes. This is why I've said the expectations are once again on Dabo and the gang. I think it's earned. I think it's justified. I think this football team has the opportunity to be as much a national championship contender as anybody else. The positions of relative weakness the last couple of years, I think, have been shored up via experience, via growing up, via finding some dudes. They got 2 first-place votes. I'm not the only one who feels that way. The Oregon Ducks check in at number 7, rounding out the top 10. Number 8, Alabama. Number 9, LSU. And number 10, Clemson's most difficult opponent in the ACC, the University of Miami. South Carolina checked in at number 13. Some other notables. The Sun Devils make their return to the top 25 at number 11. Michigan at number 14. Ole Miss at 15. SMU out of the AC at 16. At the ACC at 16. Florida at 17, ahead of Tennessee at 18. Kurt Signetti and his Indiana Hoosiers. I win. Google me. At number 19, K-State 20, the Colt of Texas A&M at number 21, Iowa State 22, BYU, Texas Tech, and the Ashton Janty list, Boise State Broncos, round out your top 25. Let us get to item number 2. A handful of baseball stories that I'm going to smush together for item number 2. The Cubs were disappointingly quiet at the trade deadline. A lot of expectations that they would go get a bat. A lot of expectations that they would be in the market for a true, genuine frontline starter that is a frontline star. They did not. One of the few names they picked up was Michael Soroka, the former of the Atlanta Braves. Used to be Mike Soroka, but after he left Atlanta, the career went off a cliff. He changed his name. I assume it's like baseball's version of the witness protection program.
So when you start calling yourself Robert, then we need to be worried?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
There is one person in my life who refers to me as Robert, and that's my mother. She's the only one. Everybody else refers to me as both names. I am Rob Brown to everybody else.
Not even when your wife gets mad at you?
Nope.
Okay.
She doesn't even go with the full name. Even when she's mad. When she's mad, she'll call me and hey you, etc., but not the full name. Not the full name. Michael Soroka left his first game with his new team with right shoulder discomfort, will require a stint on the IL. The Cubs announced that after a 3-2 loss to the Reds yesterday. Turned 28 on Monday, said that after exiting the game, he, quote, felt something grab, end quote, in his shoulder after a pitch in the second inning. Did not come out for the third. Soroka said after he felt that, it didn't go away. And, quote, Soroka acquired last week from the Nationals for a pair of prospects, and though he's experienced a dip in velocity over the last month, claimed he wasn't in any pain as he took the mound for the first time as a Cub. That didn't last long. That's a step back for a team that is expected to compete in the NL Central, but the Brewers are hot. Brewers, by the way, beat the Braves last night. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Did not make that score a water cooler cheat sheet item because at this point, I am only putting the Braves on the cheat sheet if another excellent piece of crappy history strikes. Didn't last night. Aaron Judge to be activated by the New York Yankees tomorrow when the captain is eligible to come off the 10-day IL. Was sidelined because of a flexor strain in his right elbow. He's been sitting out for about a week now. It's not gone great for the Yankees without El Capitan. They took their 4th consecutive loss, an 8-5 L to the Rangers in 10 last night. Judge is available for the middle game of a 3-game series today. Their manager Aaron Boone, was asked after the game last night for a Judge update, and his answer was super eloquent. He said, and I quote, Judge tomorrow, and then got up and left. Pretty spectacular. Aaron Judge back in the lineup today. Over to the Guardians. This is more of a feel-good story. Nick Enright took to the bump last night. Nick Enright got his first save last night as the Guardians took a 7-6 win over the New York Mets. Why is this story impressive? A guy getting his first save on the road against the New York Mets competing for an NL East title? The answer is because back in 2022, Nick Enright was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma and is still receiving treatment for cancer. While receiving treatment for cancer, he's out there trying to play, and all he did after getting drafted back in 2019, after receiving the diagnosis in 2022, after going through immunotherapy and other courses of therapy all through the year, he got called up to the Guardians. He went to the bump last night, and he got it done. Made his major league debut on May 25th. 19 appearances for the Guardians, has a 2.01 ERA, and as Emmanuel Clase, one of the best closers in baseball, is on paid leave due to a gambling investigation. He got put on the roster, asked to do something special, and he did something special. Congratulations to Nick Enright. And finally, very quickly, the Dodgers activated third baseman Max Muncy off the injured list yesterday, placed utility man Tommy Edman on IL because of an ankle injury. They get Max Muncy back, and this is where things get interesting in the National League because the take has been, y'all, the Dodgers are still really good. Doesn't look like it because they have had more injuries in 1 year than most franchises have in a friggin' decade. But the guys are starting to show back up, and I'm going to call the spade the spade. In about a month, the NL West is going to be the Padres trying to chase down the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to pull away because they're healthy. Finally, let's get to item number 3. This isn't really a news story so much as it is a news clip that I found and I'm playing because I figured something out yesterday. You know, Lonzo has been busting up on my very special baby boy, Bryce Young, for a year and a half now or so. He's had the jokes. I've been driving the BY Defender bus the whole time. Well, J.C. Horn, defensive back for the Carolina Panthers. J.C. Horn was talking to Hey Bay Kay Adams yesterday on the NFL Network, and Hey Bay Kay.
Is that her name?
No, her name is Kay Adams.
Her name? Okay. All
right.
But
to those of us in the know,
it's not very professional.
That's Bay Adams.
I mean, she's a professional broadcaster. You should refer to her by her.
I think she's an incredible broadcaster.
Okay. All right.
Which is why when she sat down with J.C. Horn and she got J.C. Horn to reveal the reason that Lonzo has been busting up on him.
How would you describe your quarterback?
He kind of remind me of like Steph Curry a little bit. Like he a silent killer. Like he might pop it a little bit, but you know he ain't gonna say too much. But when I get under his skin and I hear the real him, I'm like, okay, I know he a real dog and a real killer. So you know I love to see him make plays and like I said, just go back and forth with him and we get each other better.
I can't tell if you're actually giving him a compliment or if you're talking because he's a big Lakers fan and he would probably hate. Like, I'm trying to think, is Bryce going to like that Steph comp? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, I hooped with him a few times, and I know he likes Steph Curry game, and they got similar games, so I think he'll like that Steph Curry comp.
So do I. I actually really like that. Like, jokes aside, I actually really like that comp.
All right, so I don't get why this would do anything for me other than, no, I don't like Steph Curry, and I wish Golden State would lose every single game that they ever play, ever in the history of mankind. Going forward, I want Bryce Young to succeed. I've said this many times. Is he short? Yes. There's no fixing that. Can he get better as a football player? Man, I hope so, because the Panthers are my favorite NFC team, and I want to see them do well. I never want to see Golden State do well.
There's no fixing that. Jokes aside, we did get a little bit of news as we get set, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because, well, Carolina Panthers play their first preseason game on Friday. Tyler Huntley is the new Cleveland Browns quarterback. They now have 5 on the roster, mainly because the only healthy guy out of the 4 It's Joe Flacco at this point. They just needed another body for the preseason. Tyler Huntley gets picked up by the Cleveland Browns, meaning that if he does get some PT in the game on Friday, Panthers are going to have an opportunity to really work on rushing the QB in preseason game number 1 with Tyler Huntley back there for the Cleveland Browns. Shador hurt, Kenny Pickett hurt, Dylan Gabriel hurt.
I just saw Shador practice yesterday, so
he is back at practice, but right now, from what I'm seeing out of Cleveland, they do not know if he is going to go in preseason game number 1. Credit to him, though, by the way. He said 2 days ago, he told Dad, do not show up at camp. Told him, he's like, I haven't earned anything yet, and I don't need you showing up, being the distraction and all that. Dion said it. He said it to the media. Assuming this isn't like a make him look better stunt, a lot of props to Shador Sanders for being like, look, I'm a backup quarterback. I got no reason for that.
I'm not sure Dion could travel right now either. So, I mean, with his present condition.
Well, he I don't know if it was before or after the issue, but he did go down and visit Shiloh at Tampa. So he's making the rounds. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's talk some NFL, shall we? I made a statement yesterday. I'm going to make it again today. I am done saying they could. I am now going to say they should. Carolina should win the NFC South. I've thought about this a lot. I'd like to break down why when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Yeah, shout out to K-State Sam, Cyclone Chris, and Moats last night for having me on the pod, man. I enjoyed it. I had fun talking to you guys. Enjoyed talking. I always enjoy talking college football. I can talk college football with anybody. But no, you guys were a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all having me, and look forward to doing it again, man. That was great.
Thanks for noticing, Jacob.
All right, I got to step away for a minute to record some sound. Y'all stay right there. We shall be RB. Tears of joy, happiness, and laughter, Sam, or tears of sadness? The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you rolling through the foremost electrifying hours of sports, talk, entertainment you're going to find anywhere. I am no longer saying it is a possibility. I am no longer saying, well, if everything goes right, then blank. And I understand that for what I am about to say to be true, there are going to have to be some elevated expectations on individual players, not just on the team at large. And I do acknowledge that what I am about to say is an elevated expectation on the team at large. But
last I checked, a down has not been played yet, and you've already changed your mind.
That is correct.
So I can't wait to hear what made you change your mind. Was it a practice report? I mean, what was it?
Here is where I'm at. No longer do I believe that the Carolina Panthers should compete for the NFC South. I have throttled up. I now believe the Carolina Panthers should win the NFC South this year. It is no longer a matter of, well, you know, if, then Carolina can compete. It is now, I believe that they will compete. And frankly, I think this team should have the mentality of, we will win this division. The good news for me is that based on what I'm hearing out of practices in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm not going to make this about my football team, but from what I understand, Spencer Rattler is clearly winning the battle for QB1 in New Orleans. Good, great, awesome. Selfishly, because the wife spent money on a Spencer Rattler Saints jersey over the offseason, and I'd really like for her to wear it, because here's what I'm going to tell you. Week 1 rolls around. If Tyler Shook's the starter, I'm not telling her. I'm just going to let her be disappointed when the season opens up and say, welcome to like the overwhelming majority of my life as a Saints fan. It's this feeling just all the time with like 1 year of exception. But as much as I am excited about that, and as much as I hope that Rat Daddy gets the chance to go out there and prove that he is indeed Rat Daddy.
See, I'm rooting for Spencer Rattler as a South Carolina fan, but you're making me change my mind about that, because the more he plays, the more we're going to hear that. And I just, I wonder what he would think about that.
Much like Josh Allen, the Rat Daddy moniker can be applied or removed on a week-by-week basis, without a doubt. So the point here is I'm pulling for him. I hope everything goes amazing, super-duper awesome. My team is not going to be competing for this division in any way, shape, or form. So take them out of the mix. It comes down to Atlanta, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are the betting odds-on favorite, they are the, for what it's worth, if you buy into this, at-large media pick to win the NFC South from what I have read, heard, understood. I'm looking at a couple of things. The good news for Tampa Bay is reports are that Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver who comes out of Ohio State, is a dog. The bad news is the reason he may have to be a dog is because while I genuinely believe that Evans and Godwin have been the standard for wide receiver duos in the NFL and probably never really gotten the credit that they deserve for being the 1-2 punch that they have been for as long as they have been it. At the same time, those two dudes are now no longer getting up there in age. They are now up there in age. They've been doing this a long time. And the injury concerns have started to stack up. Now, you also know that Lonzo and I both love some Baker Mayfield at QB1. And Bake's show over the past couple of years has without a doubt earned that fat contract the Buccaneers gave him. But I would also point out that this is the third year in a row that Baker Mayfield enters the season with a new offensive coordinator. And for a lot of teams, that wouldn't be a big deal. It's not a big deal when the Kansas City Chiefs switch offensive coordinators because the offensive coordinator under Andy Reid is more of like a quality control coach than they are a coordinator. Andy Reid's pulling the strings. Todd Bowles at Tampa is not pulling the strings. The OC is. And so even though I am sure that Tampa's new offensive coordinator is going to come in and try to maintain a lot of what the Buccaneers have done over the last couple of years, the reality is some things are going to change. Some things about the system are going to change. And while on one hand, you can't say, well, they got to take a step back of getting a good offensive coordinator after 3 in a row, right? You lose Canales, he goes to Tampa Bay. You lose Liam Cohen, he goes to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is this year a very trendy pick to win the AFC South. Very trendy pick to win that division. I actually am picking Jacksonville to win their division this year. What's the likelihood Tampa Bay is going to hit on 3 consecutive hot offensive coordinators? Obviously, they've got the formula to do it. I don't know. But I think it's step back time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They did not make a ton of upgrades. The only one they really did is adding a Buka to the wide receiver room. Baker's still a very good player. But I think everywhere else, offensive line, running back, like they've taken steps back. So for a team that has been winning this division by a game or 2 the last couple of years, to take a step back, they're in the mix. The Atlanta Falcons. I am a Michael Penix Jr. believer. I think this kid can be a good NFL quarterback. I think he's got all of the throws, all of the weapons. If he can stay healthy, I genuinely believe that Michael Penix Jr. can be a good quarterback. But, and I do my best not to allow past seasons, history, and most importantly, narratives to control my preseason projections and prognostications. But, much like Penn State, I put Atlanta into that group of teams of I will believe that they can do it when they do it and not a second before. I do not believe with the only experience Atlanta's had the last couple of years is blowing it down the stretch. This team was in the divisional hunt until the last week of the season last year. What happened in the last week of the season last year? They lost to the Carolina Panthers. Now, granted, by the time that game went final, they kind of already knew they were bumped, but they lost that game that had they won and the ball bounced the other way in the New Orleans-Tampa game, they could have won that division still. I don't trust them. I am at this point, though there is a huge difference between where those of us that are optimistic about Carolina and those who are a little bit more pragmatic about Carolina, there's a gap between us. I have heard very few to no commentators in radio, on television, in the newspaper, very few to no commentators saying Carolina's going to be as bad this year as they have been the last couple of years.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they definitely are going to be improved.
It's hard to get worse. We know that. But I do too. Ted McMillan looks like an absolute beast. Again, haven't seen him in full speed. We will on Friday. But he looks like a beast. XL, from what I've heard, the hands look better. Again, haven't done it against the live defense in full yet, outside of Fan Day, which, you're playing your own guys. They're not going to give you what they got tops, I don't think. Adam Thielen back at the slot. You saw what he did at the 1. I love this team. I have switched my mindset after further evaluation of Tampa Bay, after further evaluation of Atlanta, to the belief that the Carolina Panthers will not just compete for the NFC South. I am now on the record. Not just let me put a scratch bet down because it's got 25-1 odds. I am now a believer that the Panthers should win their division this year. We'll talk more about that as we get closer. Preseason game number 1 against the Browns is on Friday. They do have a joint practice tomorrow with Cleveland. We'll get some reports in over-under fights, 1.5. Talk about that more coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Got to put some more sound in the books. So I have come to the determination that next week we will do my annual asking of the fans. What are the realistic ceiling and floor expectations for your college football team? We did that with the NFL squads last week as preseason got underway with the Hall of Fame game last week with Detroit and LA. We will do that with our college football teams next week, as next Thursday we will be 2 weeks away from the start of the college football season. So I think that's a fair point to get into our annual question of the season, which is, what are your realistic expectations for your college football team ceiling and floor? But I'm going to ask that genuinely about two guys, individuals, now. And the two guys that I want to ask that about as individuals are the two guys that we talked about in the last hour of the show: South Carolina quarterback LaNorris Sellers, Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik. Now, the conversation for me in college football is parity this year. The teams that I honestly believe could win a national championship: Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami. Those are the teams that I'm like, those are legitimate national championship contenders. Dark horse contenders to me: South Carolina, SMU, Florida, Texas A&M. I think that's my dark horse contenders. There may be a few more. I'm doing this off the old top of the noggin. But like those are my legit top tier contenders, and then secondary if they are better than advertised. Kansas State I'd probably put in that mix too, because Avery Johnson could be a Heisman finalist. And the one thing that I think you will notice about all of those teams, with a couple of exceptions, South Carolina and Clemson being two of the exceptions, the thing I think you would notice is that the conversation is unknown commodities at quarterback versus known commodities at quarterback. And while I have said a few times this morning and in the run-up to the college football season, 23 days away, that LaNorris Sellers in the Southeastern Conference is one of the few proven commodities at quarterback, whereas I look at Texas, I don't know about Arch Manning. A lot of people super in. I don't know. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, a lot of people in. I have question marks. I think they're fair. I think a lot more people have question marks about Gunnar Stockton than Arch Manning. Notre Dame, I pointed out earlier this morning, in the conversations I've had about college football on various radio shows and podcasts around the country over the past few weeks, one of the questions that I've asked a lot of hosts is, quick top of your head, who is Notre Dame's starting quarterback this year? And where'd he come from? And I was going to say you might be shocked at the number of people who don't know. But the more I think about it, the more I think you might not be shocked at the number of people who do not know the name of C.J. Carr. And I think that is very fair. The point here is, of the teams at the top of the pecking order, Texas, Ohio State, I would include Drew Aller at Penn State, Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, C.J. Carr at Notre Dame, Dante Moore at Oregon, who I've been told by a lot of folks, solid dark horse selection as a potential Heisman Trophy winner. Dante Moore at Oregon. And in a Dan Lanning offense, I got no problem accepting that as a possibility. Ty Simpson at Alabama. I think one of the unknowns, one of the more lesser unknowns, is Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. We've seen the talent of Garrett Nussmeier. Will he put it together with the pressure that is on LSU this year? Still a question mark. Carson Beck at Miami, probably in the proven commodity group. There's a lot of questions about why he left Georgia. Was it genuinely because the girlfriend went to Miami and he wanted to follow her? Was it genuinely about the fact that they offered him $4 million to come play football? Or was it genuinely that Kirby Smart, as is a rumor, told Carson Beck, like, dude, you may want to find somewhere else to play, because if Gunnar Stockton, who we have a lot of belief in, if Gunnar Stockton starts to catch you, we will make the shift and sit you if we need to. So if you want to go ahead and find somewhere you're the genuine, unquestioned QB1, have at. I don't know what the answer to that is. But I think it's fair to say Gunnar Stockton at Miami, one of the more proven commodities, still have question marks. In the group of teams that most people feel there is a proven commodity at QB, Lenora Sellers at South Carolina, Cade Klubnik at Clemson are two of them. But I would ask you, the fans, as I will do about the programs next week, I will ask you for your quarterback this week. What are the genuine expectations, knowing the kryptonite of your offenses, knowing where your quarterbacks may be challenged and hamstrung? We know that both of these quarterbacks, at least on a surface level, should have better wide receiver units than they had last year. We have talked about Clemson's behind Antonio Williams, another year of growth. Bryant Wesco Jr. had some big moments last year. The guy's been there and they've done that. Those guys have been there and done that now. So I think a lot of Clemson fans have the expectation, and it is fair, in my opinion, to have the expectation, that Cade has more help at the wideout spot this year than he's ever had before. But what is the run game? What is the run game going to look like? What is the run game capable of? And I think that same question is more than fair to ask about Lenora Sellers' run game at South Carolina. You got face-on approved. The waiver came through. He gets his 7th year. But, yes, 18-plus 100 yards at Utah State. Yes, 14 touchdowns, 18 touchdowns, whatever it was at Utah State. He put up numbers for Utah State last year. I think it is fair to ask the question then, this year, can he put up the same, similar, better numbers at South Carolina when the talent he will be running against is unquestionably, undeniably, empirically better than it was, both in front of him as an offensive line, but in front of them on defensive lines across him in the SEC, especially in the back half of that schedule? You know the kryptonite for Clemson. Cade Klubnik has an advantage in that there is more returning experience across the offensive line in front of him. Lenora Sellers has both of his tackles back from last year with a year of growth, development, maturity, experience, whatever. He's got both of his offensive tackles out there. And Lenora Sellers is a dude who I think in the Mike Shula system, you need to be able to help him get the edge. If Lenora Sellers gets the edge, he becomes dangerous. He can run up the middle. We saw it. He had that long touchdown run against, who was it, LSU in the first half? He can get between the tackles. At the same time, there's film on that. Teams know that now. You may have seen Lenora Sellers catch some teams by surprise last year. That is not going to be the case this year. No one is going to be caught by surprise by a dude who enters the year as a Heisman Trophy odds-on favorite. So with the kryptonite to the offense, the interior offensive line, and a talented but questioned running back moving over from Utah State for Clemson, better experience across the offensive line, and an upgraded wide receiver unit to throw the ball to for Cade Klubnik. At the same time, what's the run game going to look like there with a converted running back, right? Like face on, at least you can point at and go, yeah, it may not have been against SEC caliber talent across the defensive line, across SEC front sevens. But he has experience, and he has experience at this level. Maybe not as talented again as the Southeastern Conference, but he does have experience playing the RB1 spot in college football. Not as true at Clemson. So if that is the case, knowing the weakness, and more importantly, knowing where you have to rely. The other thing that Cade Klubnik has going for him that Lenora Sellers does not, Clemson is coming into the year with what is expected to be, by a lot of folks, what is expected to be one of the best defenses in college football this year. Certainly one of the best front sevens in college football this year. Cade Klubnik is aware that he likely, although he can, will not have to go run an offense that generates 35-plus points per game to end with a winning record. One of my, I don't think, hot takes, although I've been told that it is, about South Carolina this year, is this offense might genuinely need to score 42 points a game in order to win games, because there is such a question mark across the defense. I'm not saying none of these dudes are going to step up and become these dudes across that front seven. We all know who the big name is at South Carolina across the front seven. We all know that Dylan Stewart is going to be the leader. I am not saying that there are not other guys that are going to add their name to that mix. I'm saying right now we don't know who they are. And I'm not going to go into the season making my predictions on what the defense looks like based on relentless optimism that somebody's going to step up to be the other Dylan Stewart. We know that South Carolina's offense may be required to be explosive this year. They have become an increasingly trendy pick to make the college football playoffs in the gambling world and just in general. But you know where the weaknesses are. Interior offensive line, question about the run game, and the fact that there's just not a lot coming back on defense. And we haven't even touched the fact that the one thing at SEC Media Days that even Shane Beamer said, I'm not excited about, I don't feel great about it, is the fact that they've got to replace every special teams specialist. Long snapper, holder, punter, snapper, punter, kicker, place kicker, kickoff, return guy, kicker, offer. You got to replace all those guys. We haven't even touched on that yet. But knowing the strengths, knowing the weaknesses of the teams that they will be placed in charge of this year, my question for you Clemson fans, my question for you South Carolina fans is this. What is the genuine expectation for your quarterback this year? Cade Klubnik at Clemson, Lenora Sellers at South Carolina. The roof for me for Lenora Sellers, the roof for me for Cade Klubnik is win the Heisman Trophy. Be so talented at your position that regardless of where your team finishes, in the playoffs, just outside of the playoffs, like unless South Carolina just has the most disappointing season that they have had in a long time, that is the risk you run with having the expectations elevated the way that they are elevated for South Carolina this year. No matter what, if you do not reach the expectations, it will, I think, be the most disappointing season of South Carolina football since ? You answer that for me. But if you get close to reaching the expectations, I think a lot of that will be because Lenora Sellers is at least invited to the Heisman Trophy celebration in New York City.
By the way, if I recall, Lou Holtz, when the season didn't win a single game. So
there you go.
So we know where the floor is.
Yeah. And I think that's the takeaway. With the expectations elevated the way they are, and they are. I don't even think it's just by you, the Carolina fans. It's by the folks I have talked to across the media, even the folks in Atlanta covering other teams. A lot of them were telling me, some of the ones we had on the air, some of the ones that we did not, a lot of them were telling me, I expect South Carolina to be competitive this year. With that comes some level of, if you fail to meet those expectations, you know what the offseason war cry is next year. Never trust in South Carolina again. Same old Gamecock, same old story, same old song and dance, my Frey end.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get to a point where you don't hear Rob Brown say, I hear they're expected to be competitive. That should not be a moniker on your team.
Do you know why we say that? Or do you know why we don't say that about other teams? Because it's true every year. You don't have to say the obvious. Yes, we expect Texas to be competitive, Ohio State to be competitive, Penn State to be competitive. You want to get into that group. The problem is, unlike those groups, if those teams aren't competitive this year, they get hit with a year of, well, that was underwhelming, you underperform, I expect you back. With you guys, it'll be same old story, same old song and dance, and that makes everything more difficult to fight through to next year, get back to where you go. Plus, on top of that, as I mentioned, you got Ledoris for one more year. That kid's going NFL next year. So if that is the case, you better take advantage. With Cade Klubnik and Clemson, I think it is going to be the same thing. If it's not done this year, With the expectations of playoffs, ACC title game, ACC championship, national championship, you don't get it done this year. Clemson fans, you're in a hurt too, because people are going to say, even though the conversation died off in the preseason, doesn't this prove our point that the Dabo way will not work in 2025 college football? And if that conversation picks back up, you may find yourself in a tougher spot than South Carolina trying to get guys to buy in next year. We'll see. So, 844-326-3663, what is your realistic floor and ceiling expectations for your quarterbacks in 2025? I'll give you some of mine in the next hour, audio blitz and more, all after the 5-star sports flash from the great one, Lonzo.
Wow, that was cool. The Atlanta Braves dropped a 3-1 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers last night. Eric Fedde took his 12th loss of the year, going 5.1 innings and surrendering 3 hits and 3 runs without recording a strikeout. The Braves went 3 for 30 from the plate and had only 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Atlanta is now a full 20 games below 500. Top 25 coaches poll in college football is out, and for the first time in the history of the poll, Texas Longhorns will start at number 1, just a few points ahead of number 2, Ohio State. Penn State checks in at 3. Georgia and Notre Dame stack up at 4 and 5 ahead of number 6 Clemson. Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami round out the top 10, while South Carolina checked in at 13. Cleveland Browns are adding a 5th quarterback to the roster, signing Tyler Huntley. The QB1 spot is expected to be won by Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur Sanders, but all except Flacco have recently been sidelined due to injuries. By the way, I want to address Cruz. I don't want to say that I haven't been a fan of Bryce Young. I want him to be good. The problem is the person across from me, that Rob Brown guy, has praised him since the beginning and made every excuse he could for him. And I just found that kind of weird. That's all. But I do want him to do well. That was weird. It was really weird.
We'll be back to start the next hour. Don't go anywhere, please, and thank you. Find out. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the fan upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Be a part of the radio show. 844-326-3663 is the number. You can call that number and get on the air.
Hi.
You can also text that number, as it is the number, to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. If you text that number, 844-326-3663, we will read your text on the air. You guys, surprisingly quiet on the text line this morning. I would love for that to change. The show is better when your voices are on it. I believe that. So, 844-326-3663. Call that number, get on the air. Text that number. We will read your text messages on the air as well. If you'd like to come at us in that direction, you are welcome to do so. We have got the audio blitz here at the 8 o'clock segment, as we do every day. I'm not gonna lie, I got some interesting ones, some weird ones, some fun ones that I want to get to. You know what? Let's go. You know what? Let's go with this one first, mainly because I love a good accent. I love a good accent. I don't know why. It is just something I love a good accent.
Do you love your accent?
See, here's the weird thing. I do not think that I have one. I think that there are some words that for whatever reason I pronounce
Alarm.
exactly.
Alarm.
I think there are some words that I pronounce distinctly, some on purpose, some not so much. But I don't think I have an accent. We actually had, funny enough, I'll tell this story because I think it's okay. We had a potential endorsement client come through a couple of weeks ago. And they sent out, and this is pretty standard in the radio world, they sent out a feeler asking for samples, like in real life samples, show samples from some of the talent here on the show. And when we sent them, or when the sales staff sent them clips from those of us here on the Fan Upstate, though it did not come through, I was told that if they were to advertise on this station, they would prefer I do the endorsement out of the two that were the finalists, which were me and Cole Bryson. And I think it's okay because I've talked to Cole about this and we had a good laugh about it. They said the reason why was because they wanted this endorsement that they were going to record, not just to run here on the show, but they wanted to utilize it to run nationally. And they wanted somebody who had less of an accent, and Cole Bryson just sounded way too Southern. They're like, we can't run his, what were their words? Dramatically Southern accent if we play these messages in California or in Ohio or in New York.
That's funny because he has a slight Southern accent compared to other people. So,
oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's,
I thought it was hilarious. Now, I love a good accent. And if there is one accent that I regularly imitate, it's the folks from up at Fenway Park, up in Boston, which is why I lost my mind when I came across this clip from the two most Boston guys I've ever heard have a conversation.
28 years, you must have been coming here in the late 90s. What did a beer cost in your first few seasons as a season ticket holder?
The first year, I remember the ticket, it was $8. And I'm in section 26 grandstand. Beer was probably like $4 or whatever. I mean, I really don't mind it because everything goes up, your pay goes up. As long as they win, I don't give a
Charge me whatever.
I don't care. When we go to the World Series, I'm happy. I'll pay $40 for a beer if we go to the World Series.
All right, you heard it, John Henry. Get this team to the World Series, we'll give you 40 a beer.
Whatever. I'll pay $40 for a beer, whatever.
Sure that wasn't a Saturday Night Live.
I'm not.
I was waiting to hear Rachel Dratch in there somewhere.
I'm not entirely sure that wasn't real life Peter Griffin. Like that was real life Peter Griffin or whatever. I'll pay $40 a beer at Fenway Park if this team wins the World Series, huh? I don't know why. I listened to that. I loved it a lot. Hey, here's another guy that I love. I've had the pleasure of playing in a pro-am golf tournament with this guy. And I'm upset that I had not heard this story from former PGA Tour golfer Boo Weekley. Now, Boo's not your standard golfer. He's a good old boy, which explains why he was on the Dale Earnhardt Jr. podcast. And I need you to lock in for this story, Lonzo, because I got to tell you, having played golf and spent a day with Boo Weekley, I absolutely believe this story. But also, I don't believe this story.
You once fought an orangutan?
It was at our little fair over here, and the guy brought this orangutan out, and he started hollering 5 for 50. Cost you 5, but pays 50. So we was like, well, 5 for 50. So we all scrounged up money out of our truck. And then they said, all right, we're drawing straws. Well, we drew straws, and of course, I was a short man on the straw, and I was like, man, I don't do that. Let's don't do that. It's fine. We gather up some beers, and we're going to shotgun the beers. I'm better at that. We eat the beer up, too. And I got beat at that, too. I put that headgear on, put the boxing gloves on, and got in the cage with him and shuffled my feet around like Muhammad Ali, like I'm finna knock him out. And of course, my boys, they ain't like 10, 15 yards from me, and they were like, kick his ass, Boo, kick his ass. Well, I go to fake with a right and gonna hit him with a left, and next thing I know, I woke up in the back of my truck.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Holy
All right, so before you were born, I'm thinking there was a Clint Eastwood movie called Any Which Way But Loose, and he had a orangutan with him. That was his buddy, and he would say, right turn, Clyde, and Clyde would knock people out. So seeing that sort of thing, why would you want to fight an orangutan? That's crazy. I believe it. Former news guy, I don't know if you were around when Ed Jensen was here.
No.
For WORD. He's no longer with us. Told me stories all the time about how he fought a bear at a fair. And I believed it. Because you've seen video of people fighting bears. So I don't have a problem believing that he fought an orangutan.
I have heard stories in years gone by that back in the day, county and community fairs were a little weirder than they are now. Not that they're not weird now. And I say this with all the love in the world. I love a county fair because the people watching is just A+ primo.
You've been offending a lot of people in this entire segment, so now you're going after carnies too.
No. I love county fairs. I love county fair food. I love county fair festivities. To this day, there are very few things in my life that I feel as proud about as when I win what I know for a fact is a rigged carnival game at a county fair. Like you pop one of those underinflated balloons with a dart, or you get one of those ping pong balls to land in the goldfish aquarium, or you're able to get a ring around a bottleneck that it's slightly better than or bigger than or whatever. Like it's a sense of pride as a dude. I love county fairs. At the same time, the people watching is immaculate. It's top tier. It's better than professional wrestling shows, and professional wrestling shows are A+ people watching. I know that they used to be even weirder. The concept of a guy who travels the country with an orangutan, and the whole thing is you pay the guy $5, you put on boxing gloves, you climb into a ring, cage, circle drawn in the ground in the dirt, I don't know, and go fisticuffs with one of our primate cousins. It's just the wildest damn thing I've ever heard. And there are like 99% of guys would tell this story, and I'd go, you're just making up a silly story for the pod. But when Boo Weekley tells it, and he says the way we determine who's going to get in there and slug it out with this orangutan is a slowest shotgunning of a beer, and I woke up in the bed of my truck. After having spent the day playing golf with Boo Weekley, I completely and entirely believe that. Like, I believe this is true. Before the Indy Corn 350 on the NASCAR circuit this weekend, they were doing their pre-race show, which is pretty huge. And one of the interesting things that got captured was inside of the RFK Racing Team trailer where Ryan Preece races. The TV dudes thought that they saw a slushy machine just set up on the sideline.
You guys saw the bid on TV. We have a slushy machine in the 60 hauler. I remember I walked in a few weeks ago and said, you gotta be kidding me. I can't believe we have slushies. So anytime I come in, I'm always having a little bit. I love it.
We go through like 200-300 a week, easy. I spend more time doing this than I do anything else, I think. Hot as it is this summer, being in the summer stretch, this is about the lifeline of this team.
The team guys are excited to make margaritas. It's lemonade right now. I want to clarify, lemonade right now.
Yeah, we have a deal that we need to win before we can do that. So when we do win, you can expect us to be in there making margaritas.
I have to tell you, we've done, I think, a pretty good job outfitting the studio, giving us a little backdrop. If you're not watching the live stream, now's a good chance to join. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, The Fan Upstate on Twitter or YouTube. The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. I think we've done a pretty good job setting up the background. We've collected mementos. We got some bobbleheads. I brought in one of my customized jerseys. We've got the flag. We got the Charlotte FC gear, the Carolina Panther gear, the Greenville Liberty gear, the Gamecock gear, the Clemson gear. We've done a good job setting up the studio with merch. And now, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know which boss that I have to kiss enough booty to make it happen. I want a slushy machine on the windowsill right there. I want a slushy machine that we can come in here, crank that bad boy on, dump a gallon of Country Time lemonade in, and wrap every show with a lemonade slushy. I'm not against other flavors. Big cherry guy.
Yeah, let's go cherry. I don't know about lemonade. Lemonade doesn't work well when you're on the air. I know you're saying afterwards, but lemonade kind of affects how you speak, and I don't know if you want to go with that. But cherry,
lemonade's also more a hot weather slushy. You know, I can justify even though it's cold.
I don't think I've ever had a lemonade slushy.
Oh, I have. Big fan.
Maybe I have, but
big fan.
It doesn't sound that appealing. Cherry, on the other hand.
And then on the weekends, I can unplug it, take it to the crib.
Oh no!
Dump some margarita mix and tequila in there, and have us a college football Saturday.
If you, thank you, Chris Miller agrees with me that cherry's the way to go. Listen, if you get one for the studio, you can't take that. It's got to stay here.
Oh, if I get one for the studio, I absolutely can. That might be the play. It may not be go to the boss and get the boss to like fund us.
Let's face it.
A station slushy.
Just get one and bring it in here. I mean, we'll see what they say afterwards.
He
might be in here grabbing him one. You don't know.
I may have. I
also want a foosball table. It'll fit right over there.
I respect the hell out of a NASCAR team, and if you watch the video of that, it's very funny because the boys turn into the boys when they got a slushy machine in front of them, and I respect the crap out of it.
See, that it would be a problem for us, though. I mean, because you can't wait till the end of the show. I mean, if it's over there,
we'd be slushing all the time
for sure.
Especially those 2-3 months in the middle of summer, which should be now, but we got the weather rolling through. But like now, where even when we walk outside at 4 a.m, it's 82 degrees in humidity.
It's more like when we come in here in the morning and Cole and Diesel have the door open and the air turned up or down, whichever thing that makes it warmer in here. Having one to cool off as we wait for the air to kick back in.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I have said for many, many years, if you are looking at a job and if you are in the office applying, going through interviews, whatever, before you accept any offer, get up, go to the restroom, excuse yourself, go to the restroom, and check the TP in the bathroom. And if it's anything less than genuine double ply, that means that they don't care about their employees. If it's single ply, that kind that you can see your hand through it when it's one layer, they don't care about you. Don't work there. Double ply or do not work there. Now I'm at the point where I go the opposite end. How do I know that a place genuinely cares about me? Slushy machine. That's the answer. Rashid Phillips is a gentleman who hosts a This Week in Barbecue podcast. There's a podcast for anything and everything out there, people. He hosts a pod, Rashid does, called This Week in Barbecue. And he made a point on the This Week in Barbecue pod that not only have I never considered, but when I heard this take, I got just rage-fueled for a minute because I realized, pointed out by Rashid Phillips on the This Week in Barbecue pod, we have all been getting taken advantage of for years.
Did they fool us and the black community, the white community, all the communities? When did they hoodwink us into believing a wing and a drum are two wings? When the last time I checked, they're connected, and that's one wing. That's my hot take this week. When did we get hoodwinked and bamboozled to believe that a wing flat and a drum are two wings? Nah, bro.
Yeah.
That's 2/3 because you're still missing the little
clip,
the little talent
the little
thing.
clip.
When did that happen? That's my hot take because I don't know when, but it needs to stop. That's the biggest hustle. That's the biggest hustle in culinary that nobody's talking about. We're just falling for it because you're gonna look at me and tell me this and this. That's one. Nah, bro. I don't. Because I can put 25 cents and 25 cents together. I ain't got $1.
All I'm saying is you get one whole chicken and it's got two wings, right?
That's it.
When I heard that, when that came across my life yesterday, the first time I listened to it, I was like, nah, okay, whatever. And then I put it aside. You know, I put it in the show prep folder. I'm like, hey, maybe this thing's... And the more I thought about it throughout the course of the day, the more that I genuinely, progressively got more and more upset by it because he is absolutely right. And I know that because not but 2 days ago, I went to the Costco. Big Costco bro over here. And I don't know why it's become one of my favorite things, but one of my favorite things is you can go to Costco and get a whole rotisserie chicken for like $5, and they're good. So I thought about that, and I thought, I paid $5 for a whole chicken. I brought it home, and when I carved that chicken, because the wife and I like to peel it off, shred the meat up, use it in chicken salad, or use it as a protein on a salad, or make barbecue chicken sandwiches with it, or whatever. When I carved that chicken up, it's got two wings. And that wing is a flat and a drum. And yet we have allowed, for decades now, we have allowed wing joints to convince us that flats and drums, both part of a literal chicken wing, are both individual wings. They're not.
I feel really dumb right now because I have never thought about this till now. I legitimately never thought about it. It's while he's talking, I'm like, oh no.
Same.
Seriously, this is wow.
I've made the point.
And I've been duped longer than you because I'm older than you.
I've made it in a point in my life when people have and I'm not talking about incorrect like subjectively, objectively incorrect opinions. Not opinions, beliefs. When people have objectively incorrect beliefs, empirically provable, you are wrong. To demonstrate grace and patience to the best of my ability. Because when someone has an incorrect belief, calling them an idiot and saying, no, you're a dummy, calling someone an idiot is only going to solidify them in that belief. They're just, they're only calling me an idiot because I'm right and they're wrong and they know it. But
welcome to the Flat Earth Society.
Honestly, now that's a different story because your dumb belief is just so egregiously out of left field. But if somebody has this company does this thing, and I'm like, they really don't, and I can prove they don't. Grace and patience to get them out. To break somebody out of a bubble of a bad belief, you have to show grace and patience. I had to show grace and patience to myself yesterday because I made the realization that for 35 years of my 40-year life, because I very much remember back in the day, the old man used to take me to Hooters as a kid because Hooters used to have the best wings. Straight up, absolutely did. I've been eating wings for 35 years of my life. And for 35 years, I have allowed restaurants primarily to convince me that drums and flats are two wings. They're not. Do not put chicken wings on the menu because you're not serving me the wing, you're serving me the drum, and you're serving me the flat. If you're going to put wings on the menu, you better show me the whole damn wing. And for 35 years of my life, I have had the belief that that's two wings. It's not. It's one wing. Rashid Phillips on the This Week in Barbecue Pod is a legit genius, and I appreciate him for opening my eyes to the fact that I have been getting taken advantage of for literally decades at this point. Thank you, Rashid. Y'all, we need to open the eyes of America with that take because it's a good one. More talk about football and not wings, but maybe wings. When we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Three friends.
All right, guys, quick live coming back. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great with Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number to be a part of the radio broadcast. You know how people, this is kind of we're going to come back to football, but we got a short segment here. You know how people see the game differently? This is one of the reasons that I've said that, to me, having a coach who is open to, willing to listen to other people and value their input instead of run it like a dictator, like Saban did, but Saban's approach to football and life was just so much different than everybody else's that it worked. Most coaches don't have that. When coaches see the game differently and get input from other people, it's massively important. I'm going to go super old man with you. You know what George Washington's strength was as a general during the Revolutionary War? It was not being a great battlefield commander. In fact, quite the opposite. He was kind of a very mediocre battlefield commander. The reason that George Washington was successful as a commander of the Continental Army during the American Revolution was not because he was a great battlefield commander. He was successful because he assembled a fantastic war cabinet and junior staff around him. And when they would hold their war councils, George Washington would get the input, the advice from everyone in the room, junior officers, experienced staff alike. And then he would take all of their opinions, all of their thoughts, all of their beliefs, he would put them all together and then come up with a plan of action. And very frequently, that plan of action was, we cannot win this battle, but what we can do is fight it, engage, slow them down, run away, and fight another day. And that's what we did. It was outlast the British. It wasn't beat the British, it was outlast them. Wait until support in London went away for this war, and they left us the hell alone. And that's effectively what happened. Some people see the game differently. Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, is one of those people. Now, I'm going to play this clip. There's no take other than I loved hearing it. Mazzulla was talking to Edelman on his podcast the other day. And they started talking about some of the best players in the NBA, predominantly Nikola Jokic. I'm going to play this clip for you. We're backing this up to the wing thing because we played that clip about the wings earlier, that a drum and a wing is one wing. Why are we selling it as two? And Lonzo and I both had this moment of like, how have I never reached that conclusion before? How have I never gotten there? Joe Mazzulla said something about Nikola Jokic that I heard it and I went, oh, damn, and had the exact same reaction.
If you watch water polo, you're essentially watching Jokic. That's how he plays.
Yeah.
He plays.
Was he a water polo player?
Yeah. You can tell how he palms the ball, how he one-touch passes it when it's midair, how he almost embraces people draping on him because, like, you're having to do both of those things. And, like, watching him is like watching a water polo there. So.
I've never put that together. That's the first time I ever heard that.
Yeah. So, like, when I watch Jokic, I see water polo. When I watch Embiid, I see how his soccer background gave him the footwork, the angles, the hand-eye coordination, the timing to be so effective for such a big guy.
Jokic plays basketball like it's water polo. I have never had that thought. And as soon as Mazzulla said it, I'm like, damn, he's right. He's right. Why do you think that Nikola Jokic is a walking triple-double? Why do you think that as a big man, a dominant power big man on the inside, Nikola Jokic is able to rack up triple-doubles like, whoa? Because that's how he sees passing the football. Or, excuse me, the basketball. Because that's how he sees passing the basketball. It is get it in the hand, get it out of the hand of the open guy. Because if I don't, much like in water polo, the longer I hang on to the ball, the more likely it is that some dude is going to swim up, wrap his leg around me, and try to kill me. I'm terrified of water polo. It is the only Olympic sport that I would say no to trying. I will try any other Olympic sport. I would honestly rather try that weird long-distance ski jump thing where you soar through the air for 900 yards. I think I would rather try that than water polo.
I just think you don't like the stupid hats in water polo.
No, it's not even the stupid hats. I've worn stupid hats my whole life. I don't care about the stupid hats. What I care about is a bunch of dudes on the other side of that pool who are willing to drown me.
Not to mention what they're doing with their, like you said, their legs and stuff under the water.
Oh, they kick, they scratch. And if you ever, listen to interviews from these dudes, they'll point out that, water polo players grow their toenails out long, so they scratch you up in the water and stuff like that. It is the only sport that it doesn't incite violence. It doesn't encourage violence. The sport is violence. That's it. It's water violence. It's aquatic violence. I'm terrified of it, but I also get it. I understand it. And to hear Missoula point out, Jokic plays basketball like it's water polo. Catch the ball with one hand, get it out to the next dude. Because if I don't, I'm going to get draped. And more importantly, if the ball's on its way to me and I know it, the defense knows it, they're collapsing already, some lane is going to be open. That is such a brilliant way to view his game. And I've never once thought about that. There's no hot take to this. That is just, I thought, an incredibly unique observation from one of the weirdest dudes in sports, Joe Missoula, who I absolutely love. All right, let's talk some more college football when we come back. The 2025 preseason coaches poll has dropped. Who's on it where? What's our reaction? Let's pick this thing apart to the bone when we come back. Rob Brown, the Great One Lonzo, you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. When it says come over, we're frying up 40 to 50 wings, I know that there will be 80 to 100 wings. No, there'll be 40 to 50 wings, Brandon. There will be 80 to 100 restaurant-served wings. But I'm glad your brother-in-law has been ahead of the game. He deserves credit and a round of applause for that. Because as long as I have been eating wings, working in bars and restaurants, serving wings, never once have I come to the realization that nobody's serving wings. They are serving drums and flats, but by definition, those aren't wings. That's absolutely, I don't know how I've never had that thought. Because I've been to it. There are a few places. In fact, there's one particular around here that serves, when you order wings, you get the whole wing. You get the chicken wing. You get the entire thing. Never once have I thought to myself, this place isn't giving me wings. They're giving me drums and flats. And I don't know what the word is. I'm hurt. I'm offended. I'm angry that I think anybody, when they get taken advantage of, and you find out for certain that you have been taken advantage of, I think it is a natural response to be a little bit angry, if not a lot angry.
Yeah, you can't fight. You can't fight back because you realize that you've been duped all this.
Yeah.
Usually, it's like, I got an argument for that, but in this case, no, there's no argument. It's we've been lied to for many, 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 many years.
Yeah, and we've all been conditioned to accept it. And this isn't like a conspiracy theory. If you go to Costco and get a rotisserie chicken, that bird has 2 wings. Yes. Like, we don't say it has 4 wings. We say it has 2 wings. And on both wings is a drum and a flat. And if I was to go get a rotisserie chicken and I was to carve it up and put the wings on both sides of the plate and somebody said, hand me a wing, you would not pop that thing open and give them half of it. You would give them the wing.
I know whose fault it is. It's Buffalo. We should blame Buffalo.
I mean, I think they're credited with making buffalo wings a thing.
Right.
Do you think they were the first place to break them in half and
Yes,
go,
I do.
Here's your wing?
I do. I think it's all Buffalo's fault.
I personally just blame Josh Allen.
Well, in some way, he's probably involved. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo.
I've been eating buffalo wings longer than Josh Allen's been alive.
I don't know if that's true. I guess that could be true. How old is Josh Allen? Like 26, 28, something like that?
Josh Allen is, let's find out. I'm curious. I want to say he's like 28. He's 29.
Okay, there
Turned
you go.
29 in May.
So, yeah, you could.
Yes, I've been eating wings longer than Josh Allen's been alive.
Yeah, you have. I've been eating wings longer than you and Josh Allen have been alive. Although, I don't know. Were wings big back in the 70s? I don't think so. Were there wings places in the 70s? I don't remember any.
Come on, like Hooters had to have been around in the 70s.
No, I don't think Hooters was around. And even if they were, they weren't in our area.
1983 in Clearwater, Florida. Shout out to the great state of Florida with yet another amazing contribution to
By the way,
United States.
here's this thing. 1983, you know what it's not? It's not the 70s. So that's what I'm saying. So
let's see. When were buffalo wings invented? Buffalo wings were invented at the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York by Teresa Bellissimo in 1964. She created them as a late-night snack for her son and friends, deep-frying chicken wings and tossing them in a special hot sauce. The dish quickly became popular and is now a staple appetizer and bar food worldwide. So since the mid-60s.
Well, she created it. It doesn't mean it caught on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to Buffalo native Jack Gorman, who is watching from either Mexico or Cleveland. I don't know where you are, but he's a Buffalo guy watching the stream, and he just texted me and said Anchor Bar is overrated. The home, the OG home of the Buffalo wing in Buffalo is overrated, says a Buffalo guy. That might be the most interesting thing that happens on this show today.
There's a thing called the National Chicken Council, which has a thing about the chicken wing history. Wow. The places we delve. It probably was OJ's fault too, Kane. You're right.
Buddy.
Buddy. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. We have been looking at this beautiful upstate South Carolina morning. We have been looking at the college football preseason coaches top 25. Now, as we acknowledged earlier in the show, we do not know how seriously the coaches that are asked to participate in this poll take it. We do not know how many of them fill out a ballot themselves. We do not know how many of them have a nerd stat boy on staff and they go, yo, fill this thing out for me, bring it back, I'll sign it, we'll send it in. Oh, goodness.
Okay, we have some breaking news in the NFL world. According to Adam Schefter, quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is visiting Tampa Bay today and is expected to sign with the Buccaneers.
Really? Okay.
I mean, recently Teddy's been in trouble because he was a high school football coach and he spent a lot of money and
yeah, that's the dumbest thing ever, by the way.
Yeah, well, anyway. So I know he wasn't in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
no, he was not. He's been coaching. He's been coaching
a high school
team,
and I forget where. But
yeah. So long story short, if you haven't heard that story, and I don't think we brought it up on the show, but effectively, Teddy Bridgewater, while coaching this team, was, according to his side of the story, was providing players with hot meals, food, equipment, like stuff they just did not have or have access to. And those things, under whatever code or law he was coaching under, were impermissible benefits. Teddy got sanctioned for it. Been a lot of pushback from people going, wait a minute. Here's this dude who is out there trying to provide an opportunity for kids from underprivileged areas, neighborhoods, whatever, access to play a sport, to keep themselves out of trouble, to keep them working on something, doing something. And these kids maybe don't have everything that they need in order to be successful both at football and at life. Teddy's impermissible benefits were giving kids who maybe didn't have lunch, and we're gonna beat them up for that. This isn't D1 Power 4 level college football. This isn't, kids that are also getting all this from the school and then getting money on the side. Like, these are high school kids who come from a not so great neighborhood. So that's been interesting. I wonder if this means that Because I don't remember if he got fired or like suspended. I don't remember what the outcome of that story was.
I think it was suspension. I'll look into it.
I wonder if this is a step away or just like, I'm going to take a break. Here's what I do know. Baker Mayfield's a starter, and then after that, Kyle Trask, Michael Pratt are the next two guys. So this checks out. I mean, look, I think Tampa's kind of in that boat with, I'd say, most other NFL teams that if QB1 goes down, nothing else matters anyway. So, like, get the best QB2 you can have. Give yourself a chance to stay in the hunt until QB1 comes back.
He was suspended, by the way.
Okay.
From the FHSAA, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
The Florida High School Athletics Association, very aware with it. Very aware of it. Yeah.
The other thing is, why all of a sudden, and why did Tampa Bay? I know you just pointed out who their backups were, but that's kind of. What's the last team Teddy played for?
Oh God, I don't even remember. I mean, it's not been terribly long, I don't think. That being said, I do know that Baker Mayfield was dealing with a minor injury. He missed a couple of practices.
Is it worse than what we thought?
No, he had a bruised hand.
Okay.
Yeah, he returned to practice. I don't know if he returned to practice yesterday or I haven't gotten a chance to watch to catch up with practice reports from yesterday. I'll do that after the show. I don't know if he returned yesterday or he was expected to return yesterday and will return today, but he had a bruised hand, which is not super uncommon for quarterbacks, especially when you're throwing 100 balls in camp and you got guys, you hit the hand on the helmet, it happens. But according to Buck's report, he hit his hand on a shoulder pad, finished the practice, but was held out predominantly for precautionary reasons, had an MRI, came back negative. But I think that was probably just a matter of they recognize that if Bake goes down, Kyle Trask, who just never really has been that guy at Florida or in the NFL, is up next. So that makes sense. That makes sense. We'll see. For the record, love Teddy Bridgewater. He was in New Orleans for a couple of years. Loved him in New Orleans. I thought he was what? He was with Minnesota.
I think he's definitely a good backup for Baker.
Oh, for sure.
I think their styles definitely mesh.
I think so too, but he's also like genuinely, he's the type of dude that you can. He was with Carolina. Actually, that's right. He left New Orleans, went to Carolina, was with Denver a season, then Miami a season, then he was with Detroit for 2 seasons. He was the backup through that run, and then he just signed to Tampa Bay today. So that's listen. Teddy Bridgewater is one of those guys that find whatever as an NFL quarterback. I just root for him because he's a dude. Like he's just a good dude, and we need more good dudes in sports. All right, we'll see how that plays out. And what happens with Bake moving forward. Let's get back to this.
Wait, what is breaking news brought to us by?
Oh, that's right. Breaking news brought to by our friends at the BetMGM Network and BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. BetMGM Network, of course, hosts of phenomenal shows like BetMGM Tonight, every weekday from 7 to 11. The Daily Tip, every morning from 6 till 9 a.m. And, of course, on Saturdays from noon to 4, Bet for the Cycle with myself and Cody Decker. This week, it will be myself and the Persian Love Machine, Jay Kassan. Then next week, it'll be Cody Decker and Jay Kassan, as I will be out on that Saturday.
Did Jay Kassan give himself that nickname?
No, I gave him that nickname.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Was he okay with it?
He called himself the Persian Kevin Love because he looks like Persian Kevin Love, and it's incredible. And then he told on the show a very funny post-wedding reception season or a story that involved a little post-open bar wedding reception shenanigans. And I knighted him with the name the Persian Love Machine.
Okay.
And it is stuck across the rest of the network because, of course, it did. Jay Kassan and I this Saturday from noon to 4. Cody Decker and Jay Kassan next Saturday. And then Cody Decker and I will make our 1-2 punch return in the final week of August before we head into the college football season.
For football.
That's exactly right. May or may not be a massive coincidence. We'll see. All right. Real quick to wrap up this segment. Here is your top 25. Top of the head, gut reaction, who's too high, who's low. Boise State checks in at 25. They are I don't want to say consensus, but overwhelming media selection to repeat as the group of 5 AQ spot. Texas Tech at 24, BYU at 23. I think BYU might be a little low. I think BYU is going to be a better football team. Change at the quarterback spot this year, but they got a lot of talent coming back. Iowa State 22, Texas A&M number 21. Now, I know that I make fun of the Colt all the time, and I, for for the sake of fairness, I only make fun of Texas A&M all the time because they totally deserve it. That's the only reason why. I am going to say this. I like Mike Elko a lot. I like the talent they put together. And by the way, the reports are that Texas A&M's NIL total this year may be north of $51 million. They may actually be up there with Texas and Ohio State as the highest NIL valuation. I think Texas A&M may very well finish inside the top 5 in the SEC this year. I think they might be a little low there. I think that South Carolina-Texas A&M game out at the Colt compound, Kyle Field, College Station, Texas, that might be to determine the last team into the college football playoff. I think there is a better than good chance that the winner of that game goes in and the loser of that game's out. Kansas State at number 20. I think that team's honestly a little bit low. And much like Lenora Sellers at South Carolina, I think it might be low predominantly because of their quarterback. Avery Johnson is a dude. Dude is quick. He can throw. He's got every tool in the tool set to be a Heisman Trophy finalist this year for the Kansas State Wildcats. I think that team might be in the mix too. They're just behind Indiana. I like Indiana. I just don't know if they got the dogs they got last year. And while the run through the regular season was a blast, they didn't really have that signature win that you can go, oh, there's that dog. There's that guy. There's that team. I don't think they're there yet. I think they might be a little bit high. We'll find out. Tennessee, number 18. I'm fine with that. Florida, number 17. I think 17 is a fair place to start for the Florida Gators. I also think Florida might be the most dangerous team in the Southeastern Conference. Not necessarily most talented, not necessarily best. I think they might be the most dangerous team because, much like Lenora Sellers, I bought into the hype around DJ Lagway. The question is, can he stay healthy? If he stays healthy and he improves week to week, I think by the end of the year, and it may be too late, they may have a couple of early L's on the docket that prevent them from getting in. I think Florida's dangerous. I'd have them a little higher than 17. Honestly, probably closer to 13, 14. SMU at number 16, fine with that. You replace the entire running back field. You got some dogs, but Kevin Jennings is also a dog, and I love Rhett Lashley. Michigan at number 14. Might be a little high for the Wolverines. Might be a little high for Michigan. A lot of rebound. A lot of rebuild, and Sherrod Moore is going to be missing some time. So I think that might be high for Michigan to start.
I can't say anything.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
South Carolina, number 13. I got to tell you, I'd probably have them at 11. I'd put South Carolina ahead of Illinois. I'd put South Carolina, I think, ahead of Arizona State.
13 is not a bad place to be.
It's not.
Because you can work your way into the top 10 in no time with a few wins. So, I mean, that's not bad.
Look, a win out of the gate over Virginia Tech because look, Clemson plays LSU. Somebody's got to lose in that game. Texas plays Ohio State. Somebody's got to lose in that game. Now, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, they're not going to drop that far.
Right. The only team that might drop behind South Carolina would be LSU with a road loss to Clemson because they are starting at number 9. So, maybe they go back to 14, 15. But honestly, because of the challenge playing a road game at number 6 in week 1, I doubt they're dropping that far. The point is, there are going to be at least a couple of teams inside that top 12 ahead of you that are going to take an L in week 1. And that just sets you up for don't take an L, and you will eventually catch them. I'm fine with 13. I'd have probably put them ahead at 11. Illinois 12, Arizona State 11. Really no issue there. I would have put them both behind South Carolina, but hey, whatever. Top 10. Number 10, Miami, fine. Don't trust Mario Cristobal. Team's good on paper. Number 9, LSU. Might be Brian Kelly's best roster so far, and the pressure's on to perform. Fine. Alabama, number 8. Cool. Ty Simpson's a big question mark at quarterback. I think Alabama's going to be in the mix for a natty at the end of the year, but I also understand unproven from last year. Cool. Number 7, Oregon. Dante Moore, Heisman Trophy finalist, potentially. Dan Lanning is maybe the best coach in college football that doesn't have a ring yet. Fine. Clemson, number 6, with 2 first-place votes. Good with that. I would have Clemson ahead of Notre Dame, mainly because the proven commodity at quarterback that Notre Dame doesn't have with C.J. Carr. I'd have Clemson at number 5 ahead of Notre Dame, but cool with 6. Notre Dame 5, fine. Jeremiah Love is maybe the non-quarterback with the best chance of making it to New York City. Number 4, Georgia. 3, Penn State. 2, Ohio State, Texas. I have no issue with the top 4 at all. Who do you have an issue with? Who's too high? Who's too low? We'll take your thoughts when we start off the next hour, the final hour of the Rob Brown Show. Now, Sit back, relax, enjoy. It's your final sports flash of the day. You better take advantage of it.
Yeah, if you don't, it's your own fault. So there. The Atlanta Braves dropped a 3-1 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers last night. Eric Fedit took his 12th loss of the year, going 5.1 innings and surrendering 3 hits and 3 runs without recording a strikeout. The Braves went 3 for 30 from the plate and had only 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Atlanta is now a full 20 games below 500. Rob wants you to know that. The Cleveland Browns are adding a 5th quarterback to the roster, signing Tyler Huntley. The quarterback spot is expected to be won by Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur Sanders, but all except Flacco have recently been sidelined due to injuries. Huntley was with the Browns last offseason before being cut. Speaking of quarterbacks, Vikings second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy will get the start against the Texans in Saturday's preseason game. McCarthy missed last year with a right knee injury, becoming the first quarterback selected in the first round to miss an entire rookie season. Stephen, as per your earlier question about me reading the Braves scores first, Rob writes all the stories because he was a journalism major, and it's a way for him to actually use his degree. And yes, I absolutely moved them to the top. But, that'll change as football season comes. Because then, there are certain teams that we cover in the area, and we want to put those first. And Atlanta is the only team that's playing right now. So, of course, they have to go first. And I would never troll Rob in any way because that's just something I don't know how to do. And if I were to troll, if I learned how to troll, why would I troll someone who I, spend so much time with? That's just that's not conducive to a long friendship.
Weirdest dudes in sports.
Every day I prove my mom wrong when she said that smart mouth will get you nowhere. It got me to Greenville, it got me here, it got me all kinds of awards. So you were wrong, Mom. Haha. Kane, first of all, based takes sounds like something the kids say today, and I'm a grandpa. I don't know what that is. And the trolls I grew up with were like a Billy Goats Gruff and Lord of the Rings. And the early computer games that were so long ago, they weren't 8-bit, they were like 6-bit or 4-bit or something. I don't know. Not as many bits as today. All these newfangled things that you're speaking of, I don't know what those are. And I wouldn't know what sarcasm was if it smacked me in the face.
That seems sarcastic.
Was it?
I have just been informed
Uh-oh.
by our native Buffalo friend.
Ah, okay. So this wasn't a boss thing. Okay.
No.
All right, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good. It is going to make you shake your head at me for having this reaction. But our native Buffalo friend who said that the, whatever the name of the tavern is that invented the Buffalo Wings, I forgot what it's called already, Anchor Bar. He said that is overrated and that if you want really good Buffalo Wings in Buffalo, which is, I remind you before I say the next sentence, in New York, that the correct bar to go to is the 911 bar.
Okay.
In New York.
Can you dig it?
Sucker! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. If you want to get on the stream, here's a real good way to do it. Here's a real good way to do it. Andrew has just popped up on the stream and said, Rob kind of looks like Les Claypool. That's a real good way to get your comment and your face shown on the Facebook stream, is to say something awesome like that.
All right, so I had to look up who Les Claypool is.
He's from the band Primus.
Okay, all right. So I knew I had heard the name before.
Founder, lead singer, and bassist of Primus, which is a spectacular band.
Not a big Primus fan, but Les looks good for 61, and you look exactly like him right now. I just want to say, I don't know what that means.
And then Andrew immediately undoes it by saying, Primus sucks.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure Diesel a big Primus fan, but no.
I appreciate that.
I bet.
I do like Primus.
I will say Cole probably has no idea who that is. So there's that too.
I do like Primus, but I will take the Rob looks like Les Claypool comment every day. All right. Welcome in. Final hour of the Rob Brown Show underway. Talking a lot of college football here on the radio program this AM. Should you wish to be a part of the show, now is an opportunity to do it. 844-326-3663. I am going to keep it a buck with you. I asked a question earlier in the show, and I invited you to text your answers to the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663. This is, to me, a very exciting time in the college football calendar. We are 23 days away from the first Thursday night where we've got 5 college football games on tap. And I have already made the plan that some point between here and there, your boy is going to, I don't know if the right word is renovate, but I'm gonna retool the bro cave. Because right now, the 75-inch is sitting on an entertainment stand. And what I've decided that I am going to do for this upcoming football season is I am going to mount the 75-inch on the wall, and then I am going to put 3 more 40-inch TVs around it. I'm going to build, finally, my wall OTV. Because on opening night, on that Thursday in 23 days, I very, very much wish to have the ability to put all 5 games on at the same time and watch them. Even though they are staggered throughout the day, I very much want to have that ability. So, as we inch ever closer to the beginning of the college football season, I have asked you Clemson fans, I have asked you South Carolina fans, what are your honest thoughts on, expectations for, questions about? Not your program. That will be what we do all week long next week on the show. When we are inside of 2 weeks remaining to the college football season next Thursday, we will have this conversation all week leading up to and through next Thursday when we get to that 14-day mark. But today, I do not ask about your program. I have said a few times about both of the major college football schools that we cover. I feel like Clemson and South Carolina, there are some major differences between the two. I do think on paper, Clemson is a more talented football program. I do think on paper that as of right now, though I have heard some pretty good reports about Nick Harbor and his progression this offseason, I do think there is more weaponry to be worked with for Cade Klubnik at Clemson. I do think the offensive line at Clemson is better. However, I would also point out that has arguably been true about the Gamecocks and the Tigers the last couple of years, and Clemson has gotten a couple of dubs.
Well, the sample size is still small in Lenore Sellers. We know what we have with Cade Klubnik. He started out as a handoff machine, and he has improved every single year. There's no doubt about it that he has, sometimes with suspect receivers, sometimes with good receivers. What percentage would you say he has improved from year one to where he is now?
Oh, dramatically. It's well north of 70% improvement.
And I know I made fun, but listen, I made fun because it was true. That's basically, they didn't trust him enough to let him throw the ball. And now they do. And now, as you've mentioned many times, that Dabo wants him to run the ball more. Obviously, he is talented, but I would think that there is trepidation.
There it is.
From all. So if I can't do it right,
that country turret striping up again.
Well, that's the only way sometimes I can pronounce things. From Clemson fans thinking, oh no, we got another one who's not going to amount to anything. And their Mount Rushmore is two players, and it's Sunshine and it's Deshaun Watson, and they have to compare every quarterback to those guys and what they were able to do, and that's a tall mountain. And the fact that he has improved so much between year one to where he is now, that's got to be exciting for Clemson fans.
I don't disagree at all. But I had a conversation day before yesterday, about the Panthers. Because I issued my take on whatever show it was. Oh, BetMGM tonight, last Friday night.
This is what happens when you're on so many shows that you can't remember what.
Yeah. No, I know. I was on BetMGM tonight.
Just say no.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm an attention hog. Thank you. So I was on BetMGM tonight, and we were doing an NFC South breakdown. Since I was on the show, covered the NFC South primarily, they held that preview for me to do with Ryan Horvat. And basically the production staff was peppering me with questions about the division to come up with what preseason futures everybody was going to bet on this division. And obviously, and this is about Cade Klubnik, though I'm going to mention Bryce Young, stick with me. The conversation about Bryce Young was, do we genuinely believe that Bryce Young will have taken a dramatic step forward? And my answer was yes. I genuinely do believe that. And I made the argument that I've been making about some other guys aside from Bryce Young. I have made this about Justin Fields. I have made it about Trevor Lawrence. I have made it about Caleb Williams at Chicago. In that, I think sometimes we look at, with young quarterbacks, we look at guys who out of the draft, and this is fair. If you are a quarterback drafted in the top 4 or 5 selections, you are expected to be a franchise quarterback. But when we talk about franchise quarterbacks, we very much, and I think, unfortunately, put the emphasis on the quarterback and franchise quarterback and not the franchise. I think we just have this expectation that if a guy shows up and was a highly touted top 1, 2, 3, 4 draft pick, that he is going to be so talented that he can overcome a bad franchise around him. And I made the point that if I look back at Bryce Young's rookie year, a year in which he was labeled a bust before he ever got going. A bust, not a bus. That's Jerome Bettis. A bust. Before he ever got going.
Little bus.
No, we're going to stop right there.
I like a Volkswagen. It's a
for sure.
Small
for
bus.
sure.
Yeah.
So He, first year, gets labeled a bust before he ever got going. And I asked one of the guys that was on the air that said, I do not believe that Bryce Young is going to be the guy. His take on the increase in accomplishment, whatever you want to call it, for Bryce Young last year, he said, this is not about Bryce Young being better than we thought he was going to be. This was simply about the fact that in the back half of the year, nobody was taking the Carolina Panthers seriously. They were a warm-up game for whoever is next, yada, yada, yada. And I said, that's all well and good. I said, but I'd like you to go back. I said, go back to Bryce Young's rookie year when the cat was called a bust before he ever got the opportunity to do anything in Carolina. Who was his head coach? Frank Reich. Now, Frank Reich was still at the time considered a quarterback whisperer amongst head coaches in the NFL. But Frank Reich had also gotten fired from the Indianapolis Colts. And a lot of people looked at the time, the late Jim Irsay and said he's in that David Tepper camp of owners who just won't get out of the way. They're the smartest guy in every room, and if you don't believe him, just ask him. If he said Frank Reich's not the guy, that's probably more on him than Frank Reich. But then Frank Reich got to Carolina. And I very clearly and distinctly, after the first couple of press conferences, remember coming on these airwaves and going, listen, I don't need every coach to be rah-rah shish boom bah. I don't need every coach to be nothing but gas, all gas, no brakes. But man,
you know what I mean?
I see no world in which Frank Reich is inspiring a locker room. It's the most god-awful, monotone, boring takes, coach speak I've ever heard. And it turns out I may have been onto something there. But I said, put that aside. In Bryce Young's opening year, do you remember who wide receiver one was? Who was the guy? Don't worry, I'll remind you if you don't. DJ Chark. Where's DJ Chark right now? Hell, where was DJ Chark last year? Where was DJ Chark the year before that?
He's still in the league. By the way, I heard his name mentioned like the other day.
Yes, because I believe Buffalo or Denver picked him up. I could be wrong about that. I don't remember because DJ Chark's a non-factor. Who else was that guy? Terrace Marshall Jr., who the Panthers sent out of town on a rail in return for a pack of bubble gum. Who else was there? Adam Thielen, who, broke into and played that number one role very well. But Adam Thielen, 2 years ago, was the best wide receiver they had on that team. He was never given a chance in year one. Then you go back and you look at last year's Carolina Panthers. And yes, by the time that Bryce Young broke in, Bryce Young was in a better spot. But again, I go back to the wide receiver core. Rookie Jalen Coker, rookie Xavier Legette, David Moore, and Adam Thielen. Now, I think Coker's still going to be a guy. I pray Xavier Legette's a guy because I want that guy around for as long as we can have him. But the point is, still, even the uptick in performance at the end of the year, I can't put it on the guys that were around him. That's why I think BY is going to be better this year. I look at Cade Klubnik to some degree, and I go, all right, this is a dude that 2 seasons ago, when he was truly QB1, a larger than you will acknowledge number of you, Clemson fans, were calling this radio show and going, this guy's a bum. Run him out of town on a rail. He's never going to be our guy. And then last year, a smaller percentage of you, but a non-negligible percentage of you, were calling and texting and tweeting the show and saying, Rob Brown, he has not progressed the way that a Clemson man at QB should progress. Run him out of town on a rail. He's a bum. And Dabo said, you're all wrong. Watch this. And now Cade Klubnik comes into this year as a Heisman Trophy possibility. So why did I bring up the Bryce Young stuff? Because I would make the argument that just like I have said, not that Clemson is a dumpster fire of a franchise like Carolina was up until the end of last year. But I would make the argument that the argument about the talent that Bryce Young was given in year number one, much like I've said about Caleb Williams, much like I've said about Trevor Lawrence at Jacksonville, much like I've said about Justin Fields and in his time also in Chicago. The talent that he was given to operate with can limit you. The expression that I have used, the metaphor, the analogy that I have used over the years is this. You could give me Dale Earnhardt Sr., Jimmy Johnson, Richard Petty, whoever you think is the greatest NASCAR driver of all time. I could give you the greatest NASCAR driver of all time. But if I stuck him behind the wheel of a Nissan Altima, he's not winning the Daytona 500. He could be the greatest to ever wheel. But if I put him in equipment that can't keep up, it does not matter how talented the guy is. Last year, he had some upgraded equipment. Bryce Young looked like a better guy. This year, he's got the best equipment he's had since he's been a player in the league. And I think he'll look the best he's looked in the league. This year, Cade Klubnik has, without question, as far as receivers go, not tight end, not running back, but as far as primary pass catchers go, I do not think you will find anyone in the country who will make the argument that Cade Klubnik has anything but the best pass catchers around him that he's had in his 3 years as a starter at this point for Clemson. But that also means the expectations are up. That also means that a guy who last year had a stellar season at quarterback, maybe he didn't get the results that you wanted to get, but it wasn't because Cade Klubnik didn't have a year. He absolutely did. 4,102 total yards, 43 total touchdowns, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And he did it with that group of talent. Imagine what he's going to do this year now that that group of talent and its additions have another year of XP under the belt, have another offseason working with Cade. And oh, by the way, in case you don't already follow them, I follow Clemson's social media feeds. And granted, propaganda extravaganza, that's what social media is. It is only to give you the best of whatever the social media account is about. Clemson football, my life, whatever. It's only going to give you the best of the best. But if you watch these little videos they're putting out, the team has gravitated to him, around him. I was watching this team away from the media at ACC Media Days, and it did not matter where Clemson went. It was Cade Klubnik walking up front and the rest of the guys following him wherever he went. And I include Dabo Swinney in that group. He was the guy. So, my roof expectation for Cade Klubnik is win the Heisman and be the first overall draft pick in next year's NFL draft. The floor, however, is this team can't get the run game going. The run game of Clemson can be stopped with a base defense. If the run game is stopped by the base defense and teams can close the pocket around Cade Klubnik, he may not have as much time in a clean pocket as I'd like. And if that ends up being the case, Cade Klubnik is dangerous because of mobility. That's why he's dangerous. Good passer. He's dangerous because of the mobility, either the mobility or the threat of it on any given snap. If that is taken away from him because Clemson cannot move the ball on the ground, then I think Cade may have seen his roof last year. And I think last year, which was a great year, last year may have been the roof. It may be like, just try to get back to those numbers. That's the floor for me, is last year's numbers. Ceiling is win the Heisman. I've already told you, I went up to North Carolina a few weeks ago. I logged a few college football bets. I have a Heisman bet on both the quarterbacks from major schools in this state. I have a Heisman bet on Lenoris at 18.5 to 1. I have a Heisman bet on Cade Klubnik. I think I got it at like 9 to 1. Those numbers have both moved up, by the way. The expectations have grown. But that's my ceiling and a floor for Cade Klubnik. We'll do Lenoris Sellers coming up here in just a little while. But I asked for your opinion, and so far I have gotten like 3 of you. I can't imagine that there's not more college football fans, more Gamecock fans, and more Tiger fans out there listening right now that have thoughts. So, personal challenge to you, the Armada, right this very second. 844-326-3663. That is the Hub City Spartan Burger text line. What is your ceiling and what is your floor for Lenoris Sellers and for Cade Klubnik in 2025? We'll take another look at the top 25 poll. I got some NFL thoughts and a couple of rando stories as we roll through the final hour of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, guys, one more live and we're back. Stay right there for me. Mike, Kane, James, Kev, Brandon, stay right there. kick. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. The fan upstate, Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number. 844-FANFONE. That is the number to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Shoot a text to that number. I'll read it on the air. Shoot a phone call to that number. I will put you on the air. Here are some of the texts that we have gotten in so far on the show. Texter said, cherry or blue raspberry slushy is definitely the way to go. Cherry guy.
Not lemonade. And, Chris Miller, the famous Chris Miller from, Columbia and big time Star Award winner, agrees with me that cherry's the way to go.
Cherry is a good way to go. Blue raspberry is a great way to go. I am going to say lemonade's the right way to go if it's hot outside and you're outside. Lemonade's a great way to go.
Lemonade just makes you thirstier.
I mean, it may make you thirstier. I love lemonade is a fantastic thirst quencher, and in slushy form, it's perfect when it's 100 degrees outside.
Anything that's sour makes you more thirsty.
Again, maybe you, not me. I love lemonade on a hot day. It's the best.
I don't know why you want to fight about lemonade. I mean,
well, because you're saying this is what it does to you. I'm telling you, it doesn't. It's great. I love lemonade.
Okay. All
now,
right.
I will say this: a classic is a Coke Icy. That might be the GOAT slushy, is a Coke Icy. But I will also tell you that at the movie theater the other day, they had one. I didn't get it, but I'm tempted to go back down there just to get one. They had a white cherry Icy. I might go bananas on that.
So how do you know when the syrups run out? Because you could tell when the Cokes ran out. And it's just, it's just plain white stuff.
I'm going to put my hands and my life into the movie theater concession stand employees that they've got it down to a science. We'll find out. We were talking about it because RFK Racing, which is where Ryan Preece raced, RFK Racing put a slushy machine into their NASCAR hauler. And my takeaway from that was very simply, I don't know whose butt I got to kiss around here to get a slushy machine in the studio, but I will kiss it squarely and firmly.
You know what we need? We need a 7-Eleven sponsorship, and they can just bring one in.
For it. Make it happen. Great one. You're the influencer around here. Make it happen. I'm here for a slushy machine in studio. Brian texted the show, said, Rob, you can get a slushy machine on the TikTok shop. I'm not going to lie. I had a whole conversation with Zoe yesterday about the TikTok shop.
I was unaware that this thing existed, and now I know.
I am going to keep it a buck with you. I did too until about a handful of weeks ago when I was introduced to the TikTok shop. And what won me over was a air conditioner vent mounted crash cymbal. So when you're driving your car and you're playing drums on the steering wheel, now you have a cymbal to hit. And I know it is going to cause two things. Number one, it is going to cause me to drive my car more than I've ever driven it before because I'm going to listen to In the Air Tonight about 1,000 times. Number two, it's going to cause me to get a divorce because my wife hates my steering wheel drum set. She's going to lose her mind when I have a steering wheel drum set cymbal. But number two, there's a lot of dumb stuff on there that I have to actively and repeatedly talk myself out of wasting money on. If there is a slushy machine on there that has good reviews that I can pick up and not spend a paycheck on it and pop it here into the studio, it's going to happen. And for the record, I don't want one of these slushy machines where it's like, take the fruit, put it in there, put the ice in there, and then push the button and blend it. No. I want one that I turn it on, I dump my flavor beverage of choice in, and then it just makes me a slushy. All right? I don't want to bring a Ninja Bullet up in here. I want a slushy machine like I'm at a gas station, but on demand.
Sounds like a job for an intern. I mean, make me a slushy intern.
Well, get me a slushy machine and an intern.
And we'll let you on the air for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Without a doubt. Texas says, Rob, I refuse to believe that Cade will do anything but underwhelm. I'm just not buying the hype. I do not blame anybody whose take right now on Cade Klubnik is I'm not buying the hype because the hype was there last year as well. Now, I do think it is important to point out, statistically speaking, Cade Klubnik had a real good year last year. Statistically speaking, Cade Klubnik, the reason for the hype this year is that Cade Klubnik last year looked a hell of a lot better. But I think it is also fair to point out that Cade Klubnik looked a hell of a lot better, and Clemson did win the ACC, but they did so with a handful of losses. They went into the college football playoffs. They got absolutely worked in their first, last, and only game so far in the 12-team playoff. So I think it is fair to push the pause button, which is what I have done. It is not a Cade can't do it take from me right now, because I clearly think he can. Again, I've got a Heisman bet on Cade Klubnik to win it. I put a Palmetto State bet down on both guys that the Heisman Trophy is coming back to South Carolina in 2025 in the hands of either Lenora Sellers or Cade Klubnik. I believe he has the talent, the capability, and this year the weaponry. But I do not think, especially considering he's going to have to do it out of the gate. And, you know, we talked earlier this week about that week 1 game against LSU. LSU this year is going to have a very unique defense, a defense that will be, I think, largely unlike anything else that Clemson will see throughout the course of the regular season, because LSU is working with that star position player. Good pass rush out of the defensive ends, including Patrick Payton, who transfers over from Florida State. He was expected to be a monster there. Obviously, it didn't work. They went 2-10. The question mark is asked about Patrick Payton, and it is fair. Is he there because he wants to get paid, which is the belief of or about a lot of guys on that Florida State defense last year? Or is he there because he believes LSU's got a shot at a natty and he wanted to be a part of it? I don't know. What I do know is that Blake Baker, the defensive end at LSU, is going to run a very unique offense at Clemson. They run a 3-3, but sometimes it's a 3-4, sometimes it's a 4-3, sometimes it's a nickel, sometimes it's a dime, because they've got a cat in the middle. And I've already told you about Harold Perkins, to keep your eye on that name in week number 1. He plays what's called the star. Sometimes he's going to be a walked-up middle linebacker in a 3-4, sometimes an edge rusher in a 3-4 or 4-3 hybrid. Sometimes he's going to drop off and play DB. He's going to line up on most snaps at kind of the 3.5 level. He's not really going to be with the linebackers in level 2, but not really at level 3. He's going to be in the 2.5 level. He's going to be halfway between the linebackers and the DBs, and he's going to run up or drop back depending on the play call. If Cade Klubnik has success in week number 1 against LSU, when he faces a very good defense, on paper, the best defense Brian Kelly's put out so far, and a defense that is built to confuse. It is built to have one guy that you do not know what he's doing. Walking up and rushing, staying back in zone, dropping off into the deep zone, you do not know. If Cade Klubnik has success in week 1 against LSU, I will feel much better about my Heisman Trophy bet. But if he looks confused out of the gate, the blueprint's going to be out, and that could make for a long season. Probably not in conference, but could very well when they get down the stretch to take on South Carolina, when they get into the playoffs, assuming they win the ACC, against Texas or whoever, Georgia, they might line up against. So I think it is fair for this texter to say, the hype is overwhelming, and I'm not buying in yet. I'll tell you when I'll buy in. Halftime of week 1, when I see what he does against LSU early. Take a break. We'll come back. Keep your texts coming, 844-326-3663. We'll read a few more. I got a couple of stories to hit on the way out. That's coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
All right, so I looked it up, Steven. It's not a bullet thing. It's an actual machine. But those cost anywhere from $250 to $300 and something dollars. So, I mean,
I also think there is, to some degree, the novelty of having like a gas station style slushy machine. You know what I mean? Like the guys in the NASCAR hauler had a gas station style, had the little pull handle on the front kind of deal.
Do you have that NASCAR kind of money?
No, not at all. Let's see. A Vivor commercial slushy machine with the single tank is $519. For $783, you can get the Vivor commercial slushy machine with 2 tanks, allowing you to have 2 flavors. The smallest one I'm finding is a Vivor 330-watt single bowl slush drink maker, which looks like it holds about half the amount as the big boy for $392. Available today at Home Depot.
Here's the thing, though. We're not going to eat more than, or drink or whatever you do with those, more than one per show, probably. So why would you need two? I guess you'd fight over the flavor.
Yeah.
Because you'd want lemonade the entire time.
The entire time, but occasionally.
How much would you have to clean that tank to get the lemonade taste out of it, though? That stuff is strong.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, James. How well is he going to play in that first game, and how well is he going to play in that last game?
One site suggests to check restaurant supply stores, as slushy machines are regularly ordered, but they are not super high in demand because they last for a very long time, and most restaurants don't offer slushies or frozen drinks. Check restaurant supply stores because sometimes they may have overstock and may be willing to just get rid of one. There's a restaurant supply store on Wade Hampton and Butler Road, actually, that I may very well have to give a look-see because now I just really want one. It's really dumb.
Here's the thing. You know, you're an adult. You have no children. You have nothing like that you have to provide for other than you and your wife and your dogs.
Because if I had kids, I wouldn't have slushy machine money.
Right. That was my point. You don't have to worry about all that, so you can go buy a slushy machine, and you should. You should have it in here tomorrow, so we can have it tomorrow.
You can buy a commercial 3-tank slushy machine for $1,400.
It would appear that Rob is ignoring the stream, but he's
I'm not.
Steven.
Listen, I'm dialing in over here.
He's just because he's concentrating on the text line for some reason and not saying anything about the stream.
I'm not ignoring your comments about going to get a Ninja slushy machine at the Costco. In fact, I'm going to look that up on the Costco website right now. I'm not against it, but like I said, I think I like, and this is probably going to end up if I was to. I'm not going to, but pull the trigger on one of these machines. I think I like the novelty of having a gas station style machine, not like a, traditional. This is in my kitchen.
Just like if we were going to get a popcorn machine in here, you'd want the kind that you see at a theater.
Right.
Yeah, I get it, and it's for visual as much as anything else.
Let's see. Ninja Slushy Professional Frozen Drink Maker, 96 ounces. Where's the price? Do I have to?
If they don't list a price, then
Well, they don't list it because you have to log in as a member to see the price, which I'm going to do as I am a Costco bro. So you have, Armada, expressed some, let's say, somewhere between concern and cautious optimism about Cade Klubnik in 2025. And I think, honestly, that is abundantly fair. I think it's fair. Again, statistically speaking, last year, Cade Klubnik had a, statistically speaking, very good year. Last year had a very good year. And to expect to run that back with a better set of wide receivers, however, with a downgrade at the running back position next to, behind, around him, I think is fair. But I would also ask the question. Last year, when this team had a workhorse back there in Phil Maffa, last year, when this team had a guy behind Cade that was not just a home run threat with the football, but was a brutalizing running back. And this year, rolling out a converted wide receiver, which, say what you wish, you're not going to convince me that that is insignificant. You're not going to convince me that 6'2", 225, not an undersized guy by any stretch of the imagination. But until I see it, and I doubt I'm going to, convince me that Adam Randall provides the same level of we better, even if Cade is clearly in the pocket to throw a pass, have eyeballs, have a dude locked in on that guy. Because if it's a draw play, if it's a delay, whatever, and we're not locked in on that guy, and he builds up a head of steam, he is going to get through the line of scrimmage. I don't know that you have that this year. And I just don't know how that changes up the game. T. Swizzle points out Gideon Davidson. We talked about Gideon Davidson earlier. For Clemson's sake, I hope that this dude is the dude. I hope that this dude turns into that bowling ball. I hope that Gideon Davidson turns into the running back that he was recruited to be. I hope that he turns into the guy that can be the thunder in Thunder and Lightning. Here's the problem. He's smaller than Randall, 6'2", 200. Randall's still the power back for now. So with that being said, that big power threat back there ain't back there this year. And I think that that can very well impact how defenses attack Cade Klubnik. And is he able to respond to that? I don't know. We had a texter a minute ago say, and I was on the stream, I believe. Here it is from James. I'm kind of with that texter. Cade looks strong versus the ACC jobbers, but when the competition ramps up, it just ain't there. Look, I know the ACC right now, and we talked about this at Media Days in Charlotte a few weeks ago. I know right now the popular take is that the ACC just isn't that good. And I think it's a fair perception to have about the conference. But I'm also going to tell you that via conversations about the silver linings, optimistic potential outcomes for some of the other teams in this conference, I am not making the argument that the top teams of the ACC as a group are going to compare to the top teams of the SEC or the Big Ten by no stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying it's impossible that Clemson, Louisville, Miami, SMU, I'm not saying it's not possible that at the top of the list, perhaps, depending on what Clemson is, perhaps the ACC could look very similar to the Big Ten in that there's 3 or 4, I do not think there will be 3 or 4, but possibly 3 or 4 contenders up top, and then a bunch of question mark / bad teams down the line. But I will tell you, in talking about this conference on a number of shows, there are a lot of people who are very interested in Manny Diaz at Duke. That team won 9 games last year. Nobody's talked about it. Granted, they won it in the ACC, which is the reason I think nobody talks about it, because much as the SEC has always gotten the benefit of the doubt, well, they beat up on each other week in and week out all of the time. And that's fair. I think the conversation is kind of the antithesis for Duke. Yeah, they won 9 games, but like in the ACC where nobody beats up on each other. That's still a 9-win team. But the question is, was last year Manny Diaz the beneficiary of Mike Elko departing for Texas A&M and leaving the cupboard as stocked as it has ever been at Duke? Or did Manny Diaz learn his lessons at Miami? And is he a better head coach? I don't know the answer to that. North Carolina under Bill Belichick. I've already made my opinion known. I think it's going to be an abject failure. However, a lot of people don't. Lonzo being one of them. I think Ryan Horvath being one of them. He believes Bill Belichick is going to have this North Carolina team looking unlike any Tar Heel team of years gone by. Could North Carolina get into that mix? The point that I'm making in bringing it full circle back around to Cade and the Clemson Tigers is this. This conference might be better than it looks like it is on paper. If Manny Diaz is that guy at Duke, they're alive. If the Belichickian way works at North Carolina, even though there's no Amarian Hampton, they could be alive. If Brent Key is the guy that I think he is at Georgia Tech, which I'm comfortable saying already he absolutely is, they took Georgia to 8 overtimes last year. Arguably the craziest game I've ever seen. If Georgia Tech has taken any sort of step forward this offseason under Brent Key, Georgia Tech is alive. Miller Moss comes over from USC and joins the Louisville Cardinals. I think he did so not for money, obviously. You don't leave L.A. for Louisville, Kentucky for money. I think he went because he looks at Jeff Brom, and Jeff Brom's the type of dude who says, you got an arm? I'm going to use it. You're throwing 70 times a game, young man. And Miller Moss went, I might throw for 22,000 yards this season. If I'm right about that, Louisville's alive. If Mario Cristobal doesn't slam his own genitalia in the door in a big spot this year, Carson Beck was 24-3 before he left Georgia for the Bulldogs. Miami is alive. The point with all of that is this conference has gotten this narrative about it, the ACC, that it's just full of jobbers. And historically, that's not unfair. Historically, it's been Florida State, Clemson, and like Miami doing their annual We're Back song and dance. But the point I'm making here is, while none of them are necessarily going to look like the middle of the pack in the Southeastern Conference, I very much think it is possible for, not that this is the outcome, I think it is possible for the ACC to have a very similar look to the Big Ten. You got 2-3 teams on top that are national championship caliber. Louisville, Ballpark, Clemson, and SMU. Clemson, SMU, and Miami. I think any of those three. I think SMU's probably a little bit further away, even with Kevin Jennings, than they were last year. I'd have them more in the dark horse category. I think Clemson and Miami can both be title contenders. But hey, the Big Ten's got 3 teams that are title contenders: Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. I think Michigan has faded, at least for 1 year, kind of off into the dark horse category for a year. I think it can look very, very similar. So, with that being said, I think that the assumption that Cade Klubnik is going to get away, which is beating up on a bunch of ACC jobbers, quote unquote, and padding the stats that way, may or may not be the case. What I will say is Clemson may have to score 35, 37, 42 a game in order to get there. Real quick, Brandon says, hot take happy hour. Georgia Tech finishes in the top 5 of the ACC and ahead of Miami. I'm not willing to say ahead of Miami, Brandon. I am happy to tell you I do have Georgia Tech finishing 4th in the ACC this year. I think Brinke's a dude, and I think between Jamal Haynes and Haynes King, I think that team's going to take some people by surprise.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I've been high on the wreck for a couple of years now. Love that team.
Keep your recreational activities off the air, please. All right, let's find out what is the first thing Xing today, and it is James Franklin.
James Franklin Xing. Did he do or say something?
No, he did. It has to do with the rankings.
Aha! James Franklin and his Pennsylvania State University Nittany Lions ranked 3rd in the coaches poll release last night. They got 14 first-place votes. And, of course, the only conversation being had about Penn State this year is, can James Franklin get the old proverbial monkey off the back and drop the big game James moniker?
All right. The next thing is Xing is El Grande Americano.
Okay. A very interesting point was made yesterday on a podcast that I stumbled across. Great one. Somebody pointed out that the first 3 wrestlers faced by Penta when he showed up were Chad Gable, Ludwig Kaiser, and
El Grande Americano.
There was actually one more, and there's a belief that there is a 3rd El Grande Americano running around now.
All right, so apparently last night, and I didn't get all the way to the end of Raw, there were 3 El Grande Americanos showed up last night. So triplets. I did not know there were triplets.
And I don't recall who the 3rd one was, but the point is, those 3 were Penta's first 3 opponents as a WWE wrestler. So there is now a belief, as we are getting deep into the conspiracy theories, and I am all the hell in on them, there is a belief that there is some connection, that there is an El Grande Americano multiverse out there, and that Penta's the key to unlocking it. And I want you to know, Hunter, go as weird with this story as you want to go.
So I mean, Penta is an anchor being.
Yes.
Okay.
Penta is the anchor being of the El Grande Americano multiverse. Subscribe. I want the movies. I want the comic books. I want them all.
I guess we'll see what the future holds there. All right, the next thing that's Xing is King of the Hill.
King of the Hill Xing because there is a King of the Hill series. I believe it fires up today. Yesterday. Well, I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
And all episodes dropped on Hulu.
Hell yeah. I definitely know what I'm doing tonight. King of the Hill, I'm going to say, was one of my favorite shows of all time because the message of King of the Hill was always, there are elements of that classic traditional Hank Hill style of family first, love first, work hard, America first, but also it kind of poked away at some of the ridiculousness of going too far that direction and not being open to anything else, hence Bobby and John Redcorn and all these other cats that Mike Judge made. I genuinely believe this. King of the Hill is one of the smartest, most interesting adult cartoons of all time, and the fact that we get a grown-up Bobby Hill has been on the wish list for a long time. I am pumped. I love King of the Hill.
From what I understand, he's a chef. 2 more. The next one is Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber is Xing because Kyle Schwarber got big dong number 40 last night. Kyle Schwarber has hung 40 dongs so far this season for the Philadelphia Phillies. Got another one, and it was a moonshot. What's interesting about it is, coming up to the trade deadline, the belief was that the Phillies were going to re-sign Kyle Schwarber to a big-time extension because he is, again, the dong master for the Phillies, and they haven't yet, which has led some Philly fans to believe, are we blowing it up this year if we don't get it done? Kyle Schwarber is also the fastest to reach 40 home runs in Phillies history. He had 2 of them last night. Kyle Schwarber hung 2 dongs last night.
You make me uncomfortable sometimes. You went some places there that I did not know you could go.
He hit 2 home runs.
Okay, anyway, the final thing that's Xing is Bronson Reed.
I do not know why. I did say that Braun Breaker apparently was injured in the SummerSlam matchup, which means that you have Champ Seth Rollins, who may still or may not be hurt. But that means Big Bronson Reed's got to carry that faction.
No, Bronson Reed is a collector of shoes. Apparently, he got some more of Roman's last night.
Hell yeah. I don't know why I love that.
He's
as much
wearing
as
them around his neck too.
Paul was wearing the white pair at SummerSlam around his neck.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know why. I scratch that. I do know why I do that because I have 2 pairs of Jordans and I protect them with my life. They are in the box unless they are on my feet, and if they are on my feet, I'm not going anywhere that doesn't have concrete sidewalk, nothing else, no grass, no mud, no nothing. I get it. I like it. It's a dumb storyline. Wrestling's dumb, and that's why it's the best. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, it's your own problem. Come back tomorrow. We'll try harder in the midweek edition of the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later.
And let me tell you, you don't know ball.
Yes, James. Jan Duran is the new closer for the Phillies. Came over from Minnesota. In fact, you know what? Let me see if I can find. I'll put it on the stream if I can find it. Let me see if I can find his entrance because I'm going to tell you straight up. It was.
Bad idea.
No, I think we'll be okay. If it's.
You always. Oh, I think we'll be okay. But if I do something, we got flagged. But if you do it,
I don't care. I was just letting you know.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if. I think this is it. All right. I don't know if the audio is going to go out over the air. I've got it turned off over here. I figured out how to be able to play it off my board to the board, but not from my computer.
Okay. Well, still, what's wrong with being cautious?
All right. Let me throw this up because I mean it when I tell you that is the best description of a walkout that you can possibly find. He made his appearance for the Phillies the other day. I don't know if you're going to get sound or not. If you don't, it is what it is. Let me take the stupid logo off so you can see the whole thing. Here is. Lonzo will be able to hear it. I don't know if it's coming over the stream or not. It doesn't matter. You can see it and get it. So first off, they synced. You can open the app at the game, and it will sync your phone up to the light show when he comes out, which will make sense to you here in just a minute. He gets the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yep. As he comes out of the fence, dude, look at that. It's electric, bro. I'm like The Rock, goosebumps. They play this super dope Latin beat hip hop song behind him. The phones come out. So his name in flames on the board around the outfield with the Black Widow crawling across it. It is the most electric entrance for a closer since Edwin came out to Timmy Trumpets playing that song live. I saw, James, you'll appreciate this as a Phillies fan. And then, by the way, all he did was come out and go 1-2-3 inning with mucho strikeouts down the lane. He came out. They cut into it. I don't remember what game I was watching, but they cut into it. And when they did, I immediately texted Cody Decker, and I was like, bro, I think the Phillies are winning the World Series. Because a closer has been one of the things that they've been missing the last couple of years. They're getting the offense with the Schwarber bombs. They're getting the small ball. The defense is good. Their frontline starters have been one of the best 2 or 3 rotations in baseball, and now they have arguably not just one of the best closers, but if you think for a millisecond, the Citizens Bank is not going to come off the foundation. If that guy comes out to close out an elimination game at home in front of the Phillies, good baseball gods. That's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What's an NID search? It was holding up me rebooting the computer. I don't know what that is.
I have no idea. That seems like a Chris question. I'll certainly look. According to the first search result, it's the National Inventory of Dams.
Okay. Yeah,
So, Hoover, Beaver, I ran out of dams. Those are the only 2 dams I know. Hoover and Beaver. That's it. I mean, I had others, but they were inappropriate for the chat. Let's see. NIA search on computer.
It was weird because I'm wondering what was. Obviously, I didn't do it, so the computer itself has decided, let's do an NID search.
According to the Department of National ID and Civilian Registration, it's your national ID card. So it may have been searching your search history there, Zoe. So if you find yourself getting a random call from the authorities later today, now you know. Oh yeah, don't give a. That's a good one, James. That's what I was going for. That's a really good one. Hoover, Beaver, and don't give a. The best dams. As much as I hate the Phillies, the place to erupt Detroit. Listen, I like here's the problem that I have, Brando. The problem that I've had, he's been my boy for years now. He gets it. The problem that I have with the Phillies is that I despise the Phillies as an organization with every fiber of my being. I genuinely like every Philly as a dude. I like Bryce Harper. I like Brandon Marsh. I like Duran. I love Schwarber. The problem is when they are all together wearing red, I despise them as a group. Love them as boys, love them as individual baseball players, despise them as a group. And it is very hard to rationalize and accept as a Braves fan that they are as good as they are. And the answer is friggin' very, very. All right, gotta go. Have a great day. Goodbye.